10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
What's going on, guys? Welcome to Magic After Dark. My name's Ryan Edwards. This guy over here is
Blaze Sarah. Welcome everybody.
He's gone.
I'm watching Zach and Jax. I'm watching them backstage laughing at us going. But welcome everybody to another episode of Magic After Dark. Thank you guys so much for joining us. We're really excited for today's episode. We've got two very good close friends of mine, some incredible magicians and magic consultants, performers, mystics, psychics, legends, geometrists. Just keep listing adjectives. All right. Ryan, are you lagging out or am I lagging out? Man's got mad pixelated. I'm going to bring in Zach and Jax so the show continues.
I think it might be StreamYard.
Maybe. No, it's not, because Zach and Jax are very crystal clear backstage, and now they're on stage. Welcome to the show.
Thank you so much for having us on.
Yeah, this is a Ryan problem.
This is my I'm not sure what's going on.
You're looking better now. You're looking better now. But if it gets pixelated, we'll let you know, and then
and then
let me know. We'll kick you off.
I'll just pop off and come back. So, well, thank you guys so much for joining us. I think it's fair to tell the audience that I don't know who you are yet. We're going to find out this episode.
Well, we're in
Ryan just said what was on every audience member's mind.
Who are these guys?
Who are you people?
Yeah. I just got to put it out there. Blaze hit me up and said, my two friends are coming on this episode. I said, what do I got to know about these guys? He said, absolutely nothing. It's going to be an insanely fun episode. And backstage, I'll be honest, was so much fun already. That's why we're like 15, 20 minutes late today. We were just chatting backstage, having fun. We almost didn't start the live. So I'm excited. But I'll be honest, I told them that they should go through the entire episode not saying who they are, and at the end of the episode, I'll try to guess which one is Zach and which one is Jackson. But
is it me? No,
it's
okay.
We'll see.
This
see if I'm right or wrong.
So this is really a Four Suits collective show. It's not going to be beneficial for either of your careers individually.
Yeah.
I mean, what is there beyond Four Suits?
Jackson, Zach.
Yeah.
These guys are crazy talented magicians and magic creators. And you guys, how long have you known each other? Did you meet at Columbia?
We did. Yes. Probably it's got to be what 6.5 years
Is it? Wow. Dang.
Well, no, maybe 5.5.
No, yeah, I'd say 5. Yeah, probably around 5.
We met literally. We both went to the same college. It was like the end of the year. I was walking across the campus. I did a little magic on the side and stuff like that. I saw somebody doing magic on campus. I was like literally just dropping something off with the professor before I left for the summer. And I was like, I should go see what this magic thing is. Went over, saw you and Thomas filming something for the Mo wallet, which was it was a multiple out mentalism prediction wallet that they released a while ago. And they were filming demo stuff for it. And I saw them do that. We chatted a little bit and we were like, oh, you also go here? You do magic? Guess we should hang out and talk next year. Yeah, sure. Did not exchange information. Did not make any attempt to keep. We both went our separate ways, assuming, I'll never meet that guy.
Literally.
And then next year, randomly, we both end up taking this anthropology seminar called Sorcery and Magic. We bump into each other again. The professor asks everybody whoa, why are you interested in this kind of stuff in this area? And we both independently go, well, because we do a little magic. And then we look at each other across the seminar room and go, all right, we'll actually sit down and have a conversation about magic. And then we sat down in the student lounge in the quad and
it was kind of wild, from that point. I know Ryan's missing all this though. He's not going to know
Ryan was having some lag issues, so I told him he should dip out and come right back. So,
but that's great because we can tell a different origin story because we're actually making this up different every time.
Exactly.
So
So
And
that's when.
how-
So that's when we
You all good
arrived
now?
in the club in London, after having been separated on the tour bus, and that's how we met.
Best
yeah.
friends ever since.
Yeah.
Yeah, dude. Yeah,
Yeah.
you kind of Lady in the Tramp the burrito on that bus.
Oh,
You're like, man, maybe we should talk after this.
It's a chimichanga, but yeah, it's the same idea.
Chimichanga. That was really, sorry, we gotta keep up the nuances. Yeah.
Yeah, it's important. Yeah.
Ryan, how's your internet doing?
Yeah, I logged off. Hopefully it's okay now. It seems to be better. I think the issue is
Yeah,
I
I mean,
have my
we'll
laser
notice
trader.
what happens in the middle of the 20 questions if you just
if it
cause
goes
all of the
real
delay
slow.
and they lose the 20 questions because you lag them out.
Why? Tell us. Tell us.
100%.
Well, you're looking good. You're looking good now.
I'm not sure what. I'm not sure what happened. It's never done that before, but hopefully it fixes itself. So
Sorry, our powers combined.
But yeah, so I kind of missed. Yeah, you guys were too strong. Mentally
I love
here
that
for the
Ryan
show,
was
so
having
it's
zero
freaking-
internet
you can't
issues
handle
10 seconds before we went live. And then the moment we go live, then your internet
Yeah.
just shuts down.
nothing.
Yeah. Probably our hacker friends
I
decided
shut down
it was
everything on
time.
my computer. So
What a grand old
that's
episode
it.
we're having.
That's it. They were like, "This is not happening."
Yeah, see, you think there's
Ryan,
internet issues.
you ever seen Cartoon, the flip book? Yes. It was literally Ryan just goes, he says, this is not happening.
Is this capturing like this whole thing live? Is this
Yeah.
something? Yeah, amazing.
This
Love it.
whole thing.
Oh, yeah.
You know, we should even just
100%
make Ryan the star of the show right
There
now.
we go.
And we just get to watch him lag out.
Thank you. Thank you.
Oh man.
So
It just needs some Coca-Cola. I told you I was really tired today. Maybe when I'm tired, the computer lags. I don't know.
whoa,
Hey,
just
checks
doing
out.
pre-workout, whoa.
It's still lagging. It's like freezing on my side.
Oh yeah, man. No, it's not. It's
Okay,
really
I'm gonna
unbueno.
log
You
back
should
off.
probably
I'm
restart
on-
your whole router
Sorry,
and
guys.
everything. We'll take over the
I'm
show.
going-
You'll still
I'm-
not know who
yeah, I'm-
Zach and Jax are, and then we'll come back mid 20 questions.
Perfect.
It's okay.
So what is the
I
first
don't
item
know-
on the agenda?
I don't know how they met.
Yeah,
Well,
we're
first
gonna keep
agenda
it this
is
way.
Dude, I woke up in that basement, and you know what? I had
All right. So Ryan's gonna try and
All right,
fix his
I'll
tech
be
setup, and he'll be back. And then in the meantime, I'm gonna do an ad. So you guys should check out
There you go.
1v1magic.com to check out the Magic Discord. Go to 1v1magic.com. You can join the Magic community and hang out with hundreds, over 600 now, other magicians from around the world. Super talented people you can learn from, jam with, create, collaborate with. Zach and Jax are part of it. They joined for one day and then they never returned. But we're not going to talk about that.
it was the best day though. It was incredible.
It was the best day.
There will be more better days.
Zach, I also love that your origin story is the same origin story as the Oh Hello origin story. But he's like, so I was walking through the Columbia Quad and I see
really?
this really cool dude.
Are you
Yeah,
serious?
you never got that far in, bro.
Where do you think I
It was
got
literally
from?
your life story.
Where do you think I got it from? You think I just make that up?
Walking through, yeah, no, it was, yeah, man, it was an LSD chimichanga ride.
Dude, yeah.
That would make a lot of sense, actually.
Yeah.
We'll also
Yeah.
give a shout out to Says Blaira in the house. Says Blaira is watching.
Whoa! What was that?
Well, guys, I'm gonna just say after this, we've so there's this guy who runs an account, Says Blaira, and he now somehow gets a shout out every episode because now he's been watching all the time. He will watch every single episode of the podcast and then he'll turn them into memes and put them on the Says Blaira Instagram account.
Are you
And then he
serious?
had an overflow of memes. And now he's made a Says Blaira YouTube account, hence where he's commenting from right here, where
Oh my
he's doing
god!
compilations now, dude. He's doing
What?
5-minute compilations, and I haven't even been posting content.
The icon.
Reverse Flash.
Oh, this is quality content. This
This
is
is
what the
next
people
level.
want. I'm gonna, yeah.
Oh my
Oh
god.
yeah. Oh yeah.
Whoa!
Gonna have to give this. Gonna have to give this a good skim later.
Yeah.
Oh, you're doing it.
Love
That's
watching-
amazing. Thank you for your service, Sace Blair,
Yeah, thank you
whoever
for
you
your
are.
service.
Blaze, is it your mom?
Jeez, Mateo
Your mom
said,
make that
my
pitch?
idol.
Is she-
No, I wish it was my mom, dude. She would go less savage than this guy. You wouldn't,
Mom,
you wouldn't
stop
find
roasting me.
me in my worst possible moments and absolutely out of context roast the hell out of me. But so you guys were walking through the Columbia Quad, right? And then
Sure, why not?
and then yeah.
It's so good.
And then you're like, hey, this guy does tricks. Let's do tricks together. Juntos.
Yeah.
So now fast forward, where does Four Suits come into the picture? How long has Four Suits Co. been a thing?
God, how did that
website,
begin?
the blog.
I think it got solidified when we were in Vermont. It definitely got solidified when we were in Vermont. That's when like everything
Yeah.
officially started to occur.
Yeah.
But I think the concept kind of came about in my apartment in Washington Heights. We were up there
Yeah.
vibing late
Jamming
at
on
night.
stuff.
I don't know what
Yeah.
it was. And then we just started talking about concept of kind of creating a collective of individuals, different specialties, different kind of focuses, and all working together to create things within the collective. And then it just kind of spun off from there.
Yeah.
I mean, that's pretty much it. We started with writing like blog posts and like
Yeah.
trying to create different effects, different twists on effects. I think the first big like thing that happened was we got featured on the Jerks, which was like amazing because like loving what they were up to at the time. Like that was really groundbreaking sort of presentation style.
Yeah, it was just cool to see other people thinking about magic kind of from weird other perspectives because I don't know, as someone who like learned from a lot of old books and stuff like that, love all that knowledge, but that kind of locks you into a very particular perspective. So seeing other people break out of that and then like meeting other people when we start talking about that stuff and seeing some of it getting kind of bounced and reflected around, it's very exciting.
Yeah. Also, so much of the magic community is focusing on what effects are like the workers, like what effects are, meant for like, what can you do surrounded? What's like angle proof or what's the most visual?
Hacks flat, plays big, instant reset.
Yeah, exactly. Those kind of buzzwords. Whereas, you see someone like the Jerks, and that's a blog more about like, this is something that you can do in a very specific impromptu setting, but you've been preparing for it for 3 years because you've never had that moment happen in life except for that one time. But if it does happen, it'll be the craziest thing that's ever happened in this person's life, And just that kind of like, thinking about magic more from the creative side rather than just, what's necessarily marketable.
From the story side is what I would say. And that's definitely where we both think alike.
Yeah, narrative first in a very, very important way.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
absolutely. Ryan, how you doing?
I think we're back.
Oh, hey.
We're back.
It doesn't look to be lagging yet.
No, yeah.
So,
you've been resurrected.
Give it a second.
You look beautiful.
Yeah, and so that was the third time we performed in the Colombian jungle, but this time fewer monkeys, much better. I think we can agree on that. I think it's,
much better.
Yeah, he had a run-in with the Tasmanian devil, but it was
nice.
He did a great silks routine though.
He did a silk routine for the Tasmanian devil, and it actually got him away.
The Tasmanian devil doesn't do the quick change, nothing like that.
You would think.
You would think. Yeah. Surprisingly, they don't make tornadoes.
Yeah. Oh, what?
Yeah.
That doesn't make sense. That goes against all logic. Right there.
Yeah. Magic's greatest secrets finally revealed.
Yeah. Exactly.
Yeah.
Sweet.
So Zach and Jax run a collective known as Four Suits Co., and they have a mission in magic to kind of portray more magic in a light that's more based on storytelling, or how would you describe the mission behind Four Suits with
So we say Four Suits is a creative cooperative focused on magic as a tool in theater security and design. So we say narrative first because we think that that's really the most important part of all of those things. And magic is an incredible and uniquely powerful tool to be able to advance and change and make narratives kind of transformative and powerful. But what we really like doing is using magic as a tool. Seeing what we can do with it, not just sort of performing magic to say, oh, that was cool. Wasn't it wild that this appeared over there? But rather to say, this appearing over there made something larger meaningful or made something larger, more powerful. And that's where using it in more kind of expressively narrative contexts like shows and immersive theater experiences and things like that, but also kind of design, making every object tell a story and hopefully a magical story, and then kind of taking that to all of its logical conclusions.
I love it. I love it.
Which is great, because I think one of the biggest issues we see in Magic is the idea of just the effect itself being the be all and end all of the performance and the only focus on the effect. And, it's almost as though it's rare to see someone focus on the scripting, just to even try to add something else, some larger context around the effect, other than, hey, I'm just going to show you a cool thing.
Right.
And that's kind of what you see in Magic a lot. But you guys kind of bring it to another level, which I think is really exciting, is, which is also something similar to what you're working on, Ryan, with your show, something that's a more theatrical, proper show that could exist without the magic, but the magic is a key tool in order to enhance the emotional impact of the performance, rather than being the only entertainment value of the performance itself.
I think it makes me think back to when I started doing Magic. I reached out to a guy that it's kind of local to me. I saw his show and I said, "You're the best guy I've seen in Canada." And I said, I wanted to jump from doing close-up magic to stage magic. And so I asked him to be my mentor. And at the time I had, a decent amount of money saved up. And I was like, I'm going to buy illusions because I want to be an illusionist. And that's what it takes, is you just got to spend a lot of money on big props. And he said probably the best thing that changed the way I looked at magic altogether. And he said, the illusion only lasts 30 seconds. And then it's who you are between your illusions that's going to put people in the seats. And he goes, so go to the magic shop and buy the shittiest magic product that you can, something that you hate, and then make it your own and own it and make it the best trick in your show. And then you will have a great show. But because of that, it made me think about writing and stuff more. And then I always thought story-based shows were 10 times better than just someone sitting there doing trick after trick after trick. So all of my shows have been based around narratives, or full story length. And so I absolutely love it. I'm excited for tonight because that's the first time I've heard what you guys do. So you guys lagged so much. I mean, I lagged a lot. You were lagging to me. And so yeah, I'm pumped. Now I'm excited to talk and learn more.
Yeah, and so. I think you'll like them even more as we go. We do a rundown. But what? Nathan just said, I thought this was Magic After Dark, but it looks like noon where Sad and Max. We're gonna call you Sad and Max instead of Jackson Zach.
That's good.
All right. Which one is Sad?
Make the Instagram account.
Yeah.
Already. Come on.
No, there's a lovely sunset in the distance. I don't know.
Yeah.
It's after dark over here.
Yeah, exactly.
It's different. Very dark here.
It's a couple hours earlier for them guys.
The darkness in here.
Yeah, the darkness is inside.
The show will get crazier the darker it gets for them.
That's it.
But I think I would love to do a quick rundown of the shows that you guys have done together, or any shows that have been associated with the Four Suits Collective since that's been formed within the past, say, 5 years? You were saying it was like a year ago. Because obviously they're the ones that I've been like a part of or involved in with helping a bit. Whether that was the shows that you've done on a specific day in April, or the shows that you
just for instance,
like Alter, and I would love to hear you talk about Alter and the creative process behind that. But let's start from the beginning. What was the first show that you guys ever did together?
Do you want to talk about? Oh, wait, was it your fam or was it the radio station?
There was a private gig, a Christmas party in New York.
It was a Christmas gig,
that we did.
I totally forgot about that. Yeah, that would be the first iteration, and
that was the very, very, very first.
Yeah, it wasn't really. I guess it wasn't really Four Suits like a show, like a proper thing.
Yeah,
this was very much in we're still feeling it out. I knew that as soon as I met Zach and we start. Oh dang it! I revealed it. But as soon as I met Zach, and
I got
he
it.
learned.
As soon as Sad met Max, it's the craziest thing.
That's great.
It was less sad.
But he learned half of Mnemonica overnight. Like I gave him the notes on it, and literally we were like stumbling. It was like we're just out at bars, and then like it was like 2 a.m, and I was like, "Hey, learn this Mnemonica thing." Wakes up next morning at like 8 a.m. He's like, "Hey, I got half of it down," and the next day learned the other half, and was like had it, committed it, and then I was like, "Oh, we should definitely like do
So
like we should do code work. We should work together in that way." And so this was kind of the beginning of that. We're routining. We're doing routines where we kind of swap off or start to do parallel kind of, I guess, I don't know, frameworks and presentations and start to kind of mix it up. And then from there, I don't know, like, then we did.
Yeah, we did. So there was some private stuff in New York.
And then we did like parties and college parties.
We did a couple, right? Because we were in college at that point, so we performed. We did some little duo stuff at college parties. There was a radio station in New York that was doing a variety show. We did something there. We did a glass box prediction and some other stuff, which was fun. Then we did some private stuff.
Someone out there has a recording of that. Please send it to us. We don't.
Yeah, they said they were going to record it and do all this stuff, and we could never get footage.
WFMU. If anyone has a recording from like years ago, send it to us, please. That should be a running thing. We should always answer that.
Please, and then we did some more private events up in like New England, so like that, some stuff for my family and some stuff for some other people, and then
let's say like when you guys decided to self-produce a show together, because like obviously Alter is a very different vibe than like you guys doing a gig, you know,
right? So. Yeah, so then once we got to California, I think that's when
I tried not to make it though. Yeah, but I think California, probably the first thing. We were working in a show which was the genesis of Alter.
Yes.
The deconstructed, literally just titled "Do the Spirits Come Back?"
Yeah.
And we ran like a beta version of that in NYC.
Yeah. And this was basically, it was meant to be a seance in a box that we could come in and do in people's apartments.
Yes, traveling seance. A seance in your apartment.
Right. We would speak to the spirits in your apartment. And then we left New York, unfortunately, so we couldn't do that in New York. But the idea for that turned into Alter. First big thing in.
Yeah.
Is that right? Yeah.
Like a proper show.
And so this was basically, we described it as like a postmodern seance. So it was a seance in the sense that we did kind of talk about spirit contact and spirit world and things like that, but in a much more sort of honest way, but also sort of academic sense of trying to understand like what could realistically be going on here in a sort of anthropological, sociological, psychological sense of like, what does it mean for a spirit? Like what does the spirit encounter mean or look like or feel like in a more authentic way? And
also deconstructing the medium, the role of the medium. One of us was the mind and one of us was the body of the medium. Mm-hmm. Therefore, we are two mediums conducting one seance, kind of extrapolating those different parts and the different things that they would do.
Yeah, and the ways in which those can be in opposition at times, and then the ways that those can work together.
Yeah.
And then as well as adding, we're always interested in a kind of immersive narrative stuff. So sort of like as soon as people, it was done at a private residence.
Let's. I think we're getting a little bit too deep on Alter.
Okay.
Let's backtrack a little bit, and then we can.
we talk about it for too long. Yeah.
No, just because I think so it bounced around a little bit. So it's actually interesting because we've had them on before, and next week we have on the Eversons.
Whoa, sick!
Love
they
them,
cannot
right?
make it next week.
They cannot make it next week.
I just talked to them yesterday. Yeah.
Okay.
They had some rebooking things, and so they had.
They're incredible.
Sad.
They are.
So but they did some incredible Second Sight things the last time they were on, and they were talking about this this community
Buffalo.
That is, I guess, the largest community of all mystics and psychics. You know. Which is like fascinating in and of itself, but that's a community where everybody that lives there is a psychic, is a medium. At least they believe they are.
Buffalo, New York.
Upstate New York has been a hotbed for that for a long time. There's a lot of great history.
I'll have to look up what the name of the community is. I'll find it. But yeah, so they've done a bunch of shows there, and they get booked to perform there, despite the fact that they don't claim that what they're doing is real. In that sense, so they don't claim that it's a real spiritual thing, but they still get booked by these people that actually claim that what they're doing is real. Now, Jax and Zach do not actually claim to be really communicating with spirits, yet they do some of the most convincing seance things I've really seen, you know, where it really does feel real. And it was really incredible being there backstage when you did, or like back, I don't know, other room.
Right,
because what Zach and Jax did, which was really creative, is they found this old Victorian home. And I don't know if I necessarily can describe how you went about getting this home for the thing. I don't know if there's any. Is there any legality issues with that, or no? It's fine, right? You did it.
So. No, it was all chill with them. Yeah.
Oh, it was all chill. Okay, yeah. I just didn't know like if the people you Airbnb'd from didn't know you did a show there and had paying tickets.
No, that was the hardest part. Yeah, we were up front.
Airbnb just wants a cut now. That's all. So
right.
It's like.
Yeah. But yeah, so they found a venue that was like this old Victorian home, and then decided to do a kind of a paid ticketed event that was the seance. And I think, and that was called Altar. And I think that what was so incredible about it was seeing the entirely different reactions that you'd get from people in that kind of performance context, compared to the fact that like both of you have done regular magic performances as well. You know, Jax has been a professional magician as well for many years, you know, like doing it, presenting as I'm a magician. But this time you two were the two mediums in one. And I would love if you guys talked about the atmosphere you were able to create, because even things with like the salt and all of those little pieces of detail were so important that once people entered this building, they felt like they were in another world. And this is something that I've talked with Eric Jones about, the idea of like creating an environment or an atmosphere of magic. I think you guys did it really exceptionally. So I'd love to hear you guys talk about how you created an atmosphere of magic or an atmosphere of something spiritual for this seance.
Yeah. Do you want to talk about it?
Yeah, I think like really just doing all the dressings properly, like you mentioned, like salt lines, anything that we could.
There was a salt line at the front door when they came, like before they even entered the house. There was a salt line that they were asked to like step over as a protective ring around the house to sort of start adding layers. I feel like it's really about layers.
That show really was about that. We had two separate start times for groups of audiences. So one group is going to naturally take away a completely different experience than those that come later, and vice versa, because just like really segmenting, we wanted it to be very segmented and wanted to be
I think part of the element of postmodern was playing with sort of where everyone, I mean, again, this was a ticketed event from a group that expressly talks about the fact that they are magicians, so there's a clear element of like, this is theater, but also so much of it was pitched and designed to feel real. And so part of the way that we played with that was sort of layers and elements of audience. So we had, I think, three different tiers.
Tiers.
Where the first people would come in, and they came in, there was the salt line, the main two groups came in and they were all given tea beforehand. There was a whole sort of like little ritual process of them getting into the space. And then we seated them in a very particular way.
And there was like tea leaf readings as well happening.
There was, I don't think that show, I don't know.
I thought that Helia did it.
There was the option for that.
I think there was the option. Yeah, we have, Helia, one of the other Four Seasons members, does like Turkish coffee ground readings and things like that. So it's sort of adding those different layers. And then we seated those people in a very particular way. So they came in and they all go, oh, we're here to watch these two mediums. This is the show, right? And then we seat the first ring of people and sit with them. And then the other people come in and go, oh, we're watching these people and the medium. That's the show, right? And then they sit down. And then the third group, who wasn't even waiting with them in the tea area, then they come in and they're asked to stand silently around them for the whole show. So suddenly then they're going, oh, we are watching this. But progressively, as these layers get added, you realize you find yourself deeper and deeper inside the construct of the show. So you're no longer an audience member. You are a full-on participant, not just because you're there sitting at the table doing stuff, but because you have these layers of eyes watching you, putting you further and further into that space. And so they're just like, from the get-go, that sort of already puts you in the sense of like, oh no, I am at the table The audience is over there. I'm at the table. And that was a really fun process. We talked a lot about how we wanted to describe those roles in the copy and language beforehand. We went through a bunch of different naming schemes for how we wanted to describe that to, again, kind of give people the idea of what it would mean to be in those different roles. But yeah, setting up all the layers. I feel like that was really a show about layers and slowly kind of adding them on and then slowly or all at once peeling them back right at the end in a lot of ways.
Which is really fascinating when you have people come in and they go, okay, so like we're sitting down at the table and we're going to be participating with these two mediums, and then the next people come in and they go, oh, we're watching those people that are a part of the show because they're already here and they're in it. So those are the characters, and I'm an audience member. And then they suddenly realize, oh, I'm a character in this narrative too.
Yeah.
Which is a fascinating, like, kind of trippy experience to put your audience through.
Yeah.
Regardless of what even takes place. Like, that's something that is magical and transformative for the audience member, thinking they're an audience member and suddenly become a character in the story. Yet that's before any magic has even been done.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, very kind of like priming the space, priming the people, setting up. Yeah, Jackson worked a lot on, and Helly also on like kind of the set design and creating that space physically, even once we were in the room.
I think we really could have this whole podcast be about that one show.
Yeah, there was
all the origins for stuff. Yeah, it's a lot of fun. Everything we do.
It's interesting though, because I was talking to a guy. I used to work for a website that rated escape rooms, and so we would go to all these different escape rooms and rate them. And I messaged the guy today because I said a couple of my buddies are coming down from the States next week, and I said let's go and do an escape room. And I messaged him and said, what's the most immersive escape room? Because there's so many great escape rooms that have really great puzzles and stuff. But you go there and it's like, okay, you're going to just walk down the hall and you get in the room and you're like, I'm just in a room down the hall from the front desk. And I went to this other one where they put you in the back of a truck, like a cube van. And it feels like the cube van is driving. And it drives like 8 feet, they told me afterwards. But they drive it and it feels like you're driving and you hear all this talking and stuff, and they drop you off and the back of the thing opens and now you're in this totally different, like you're in this basement thing. And I was like, it was the greatest escape room I had. And I said, why aren't magic shows like this? I said, so often it's just you show up to a theater and that's the show, right? And I understand that it, like, you know, when they're building that escape room, they're putting hundreds of thousands of dollars into that escape room, and most magicians don't have those type of budgets. But there's creative ways to go about creating those. So I love that you guys found like the Airbnb that kind of fit the style and then created it into that space that you needed it to be. And I think it's really inspiring. I would say that's a mic drop moment. Because
I would agree.
I'm going to say that. It's got to be a mic drop moment.
That would be a gold nugget mic drop moment. Imagine a gold nugget game changer. Bro.
And I'm going to say that because
you think that this is some amateur hour show? Just because we got lag doesn't mean we don't have mic drops.
We just had a momentary lag. But I think it's cool because I think most magicians, when they're going to look to maybe start doing stage magic and stuff, it's like, where can I book? You know, what theater is available or what space is available? And then if there isn't any, it's almost that excuse not to get into it, right? And it's like, well, there's no theaters around me, or there's no event spaces I can rent and stuff. And it's like, you guys rented an Airbnb and made something that sounds incredible happen, you know? And like, there's Airbnbs everywhere. So no one has an excuse. Rent an Airbnb if you got it. Like, find a cool one, of course. Like, find one that fits the style. But I think that's really inspiring to just look outside the box. Because I think the immersiveness, and Blaze is working with me on the new show called Our Masks, and people are going to be wearing masks throughout the show. And so I was trying to figure out the immersiveness of that and like how they feel and how they connect.
Also, just decide that it's not, when he says people are going to be wearing masks, not the normal masks that everyone is currently wearing right now.
Yeah. Yeah, just this. We're only gonna see
They're
the
walking
guys.
into the theater already wearing masks.
Yeah,
And they're going to additionally be wearing masks.
This will be a post-COVID mask show.
Yeah, I feel you. Have you ever checked out? Sorry to interject here, but have you ever checked out any Punch Drunk Theater's work?
Yeah.
Or Sleep No More?
I've been to Sleep No More. Yeah.
Okay, great.
Because that idea of masks and layers.
There's that too. It's amazing.
Yeah. So the show I mean I created the show years ago it was called Our Masks, and I wrote it all, and then finally have gotten back to working in some of the routines and stuff for it and some of the stuff. But the problem with magic is I had talked to a couple other guys, consultants and stuff, and we always said wearing masks disconnects you. Like I was going to wear a mask for the whole show, and they were like, it disconnects you from the audience, right? Because if you're watching someone on stage with a mask on, they don't know who you are. And the idea was throughout the whole show that I would never say really who I was. Like the poster wouldn't have my name on it, nothing like that. And it would just be, come and see this show. And hopefully, and it doesn't say magic or anything on it. And hopefully it's a show that reaches beyond magic is the real hope, that it's not just a magic show. That is, hopefully it's a life altering show, but yeah. So, and then we came up with the idea of like, well, what if just everybody wears masks? So like no one is connected, because none of us really are connected, as much as we can see each other. I didn't know who you guys were till you spilled the beans. Yeah.
Mission Impossible.
It's been Say's Blair this whole time.
We got to have him on an episode. I think Say's, I know you're watching. You got to come on an episode sometime.
I feel like what he would do is he would deep fake me. Do that for the actual episode.
Just came up. I don't know if you guys saw. Wait, there we go.
I am a deep fake right now.
That'd be so epic.
I will say, sorry, just to go back to that mask thing. One thing that's really interesting about the audience wearing masks, and this is something that we found about Alter too. I don't know, he's back. Is that because magic is so much about audience reaction, and that is so communal, like them seeing how other people are reacting, that once you break some of those links or change the way that they think they're supposed to engage with the magic, you get really, really interestingly different reactions. We found that with Alter, where like people aren't like, there's no applause cue. You know what I mean? Like that's not the way the show is designed. And so with masks, I could definitely imagine a similar sort of people see something and then sort of like look around going like, are we clapping? Are we laughing? Are we crying? Like, and not being able to tell behind the mask can give them hopefully the liberty to have their own kind of honest reactions, but also can sometimes make it
an interesting performance scenario.
Well, that's interesting. When I went and seen Derek Delgadio's show in New York, we went out for dinner after, and I was talking to him about the show, and he said, the director doesn't want anyone to clap throughout the whole show. And I was like, oh, well, you're doing some incredible card work. Like, of course people are going to clap, right? And he's like, but we're trying not to leave moments for clapping. Like it kind of just goes right into the next thing and stuff. So I thought that was really interesting that it wasn't supposed to be like a stop and let everybody, because like you watch an illusionist, they're striking a pose or whatever, or waiting for the applause, right? Some of them 3 or 4 stops for the applause. And so I found it really interesting that they were like, no applause is the best. And I think the show I was at, there was like 1 applause until the very end. And I was like, but don't you find that awkward at some points that they're like, you just did something incredible, but there's no reaction to it. But I guess if you were watching a movie, you don't start clapping in the middle of the movie when something amazing happens, right? So
true. And also clapping isn't the only way for people to have reactions or to have responses sometimes.
No, for sure. So
I mean, as we saw with Alter, it was a lot of gasps and just kind of internal stunned silence where you can tell these people are absolutely freaked out, but not because they're in this weird kind of limbo between, is this real and is this a magic effect that I should be appreciating like entertainment level? but I feel like they get so lost in the narrative that they really do suspend their disbelief, and they end up just being actually a little bit terrified until the end, where you have this resolution that people can kind of let that emotion out, you know?
Yeah, we pushed that one pretty hard in terms of, we pushed that one to a weird space, and I don't think we would ever do a normal show quite to that extent, or even but it was interesting to see kind of how far we could push it in terms of like no space for applause, no even sort of acknowledgement like of what we were doing, because it's sort of like, well, this is what was supposed to happen, this is what we're here for.
It could go further. We could do further. One of these days. One of these days.
I'm in.
When I'm ready.
That's
when you're ready.
But yeah, it's a.
Now,
sorry, you had a track at the beginning of this. Sorry.
Now, how would you describe like your creative process when you're going about making magic for, let's say, just a regular magic gig performance, comparatively to when you're going to do something that's a much larger undertaking like that, which is a much more narrative-based show? Is there a difference in process, or or can you just elaborate on maybe the two processes and how they differ, or if they're the same?
Sorry, one more time. Like adding something to your repertoire versus like creating a show. Is that what the?
I'm just saying, like when you're, like, do you have kind of a universal creative process that you could like articulate when you're going about magic in general, or is it different when you're working on a show like that?
For like our own immersive special forces show versus like this is going to be a set.
I don't think so, because the thing is, I think, if I may say, we have such like a backlog of just ideas that we cannot do, because there's too, like, we have to choose only a couple of them and implement them, right?
Yeah.
And so I feel like now it's just like, hey, remember when we talked about a thing? Yeah, I think we can do that now. Like, I think we figured it out, how to accomplish that, or like, this is the right place for that.
Yeah. So like, remember that thing that we did like once? Perfect. That'll fit right in this show. So just like slot that in. You're already doing that effect.
Yeah.
I've got this one. Like, so anything that fits into sort of like a normal magic space, we have so much.
Yeah.
Just there. I don't know.
And then I guess for a show, I don't know, like, it's more like what we think would be fun or interesting, and what we kind of just want to share.
Yeah, well, it really starts with like kind of world building in the sense of like, what do we want to share? What do we want? Like, not even what is the story going to be quite per se, but like what effects fit the vibe, the feel, the kind of the ambiance that we want that space to be. But also that impacts the regular shows as well. Because part of what we have striven to do with Four Suits, and we just had like a Four Suits meeting about this like a week or two ago, was like sitting down and saying like, okay, all the magic that we do, whether it's a regular little stage set somewhere that needs a guest performer versus our own marquee special immersive event, we want there to be a single thread that ties all of those things together. Roughly the same characters, not always to the same extent. Sometimes it's going to be weirder and more over the top. Sometimes it's going to be more, sometimes it's going to be silly. Sometimes it's going to be dramatic. But enough of a common thread of kind of character and style. So even when we're putting together a more regular show, it kind of all fits together. It's all a lot of the same pieces, perhaps slightly dressed differently, or saying like, oh, here we can present it a little easier, a little more palatable, put it in a card context and do something there, versus here it's going to be an off the wall.
Yeah.
We can build in a special illusion into the thing, and so it'll be like, but it's the same kind of character, same kind of style.
Yeah.
So that sort of unifies it.
I think that's the hard thing is like if you're doing your seance show and it's, this full production, and then a company calls you and says, hey, we want you guys to come and do a show at our, our Christmas party or something. It's like, well, you can't do that same show there. I mean, maybe you could. It would be maybe a little different, but
rebooked.
Right,
yeah.
But even if you can't do the same show, perhaps it's those same two characters performing different material. And that's sort of what allows it to connect together and sort of for us artistically and kind of creatively to feel like we are building a body of work, not a bunch of random like, oh, well, I need 15 minutes of material for this, so I guess I'm going to make up a whole new routine with sponge balls and something like no. That routine should be an expression of this character from that show, even if it's slightly different material.
Nice. I think that's hard.
Sorry.
Oh no, go ahead.
I was just gonna say, does it feel more like top down, like we're gonna go after this is the story that we want to do, and once we've decided on that story, now we're going to work backwards? Or is it more like we're gonna bank a bunch of ideas over time of just like from a ton of random discussions and ideas, and now that we have those banked, now we're starting to see the threads of where they connect, and then now the bigger picture starts to reveal itself? Or is it something in the middle?
Like it's almost simultaneous. It's like a solid wall. It's like we got one part down here where we're just engaging with material, going, oh, what feels fun? What feels like us? And then up here we're doing weird aesthetic things. We'll send a GIF back and forth and just be like, this vibe, this, I want this aesthetic for something. I don't even know what it is yet. Like, well, we'll bank an idea of just like, I love this title. Don't even know what it goes to yet. But just like all those things sort of, as we chew through in the back of our heads what it is that we like and what draws us to these things, then slowly kind of teasing that thread out and trying to find it in everything else that we've already been doing, because it's already there. That's why we were drawn to it in the first place. Or this, the way that I feel.
Yeah. Well, I feel this a lot, and I know when we first met, I told you this, but like it's the culmination of thinking alike but thinking differently, if that makes sense. Being able to take the same idea, but have totally different approaches to solving that problem or implementing that idea, executing it. And I feel like there's a lot of, it's almost like if you are to take it and understand it as some sort of a plane or a line or something like that, I feel like a lot of times I'm working from inside out and you're working from outside in. It's like, and taking all the edges and making it make sense, because like I feel like a lot of the stuff I think about, I go like, this doesn't work, and then you'd be like, oh well, we just do that, we just do this, we do this thing, and like they're both coming from very different directions, but they're working on the same. Like that only works if you have someone that's thinking about the same plot or the same premise as you, right? It's not going to work if you both are like
we're on the same way,
just like over here. It's like, well, you could do it on the deck, like.
Right. Yeah. There's a unifying, like aesthetic or idea, experience of magic, like experience of what we want magic to be, and kind of like that. Yeah. Yeah. Makes it very fun and satisfying, because even sort of when you go off on weird loops and tangents, they'll all come back, or you'll find another person at the same end of that tangent going, wait a second, how did we both end up over here?
Yeah.
We were over there like 2 minutes ago. This doesn't make any sense, but we're both here now, and it's great. So,
but to tie back to the original question, the creative process is very much just like a conversation. I never feel like we have to set something on the agenda and be like, we need to work on this one thing. It's just kind of a flow and organic conversation that we end up, because of both of our personalities working in sync, we just end up making stuff. And like,
there's always something in both heads
Yeah.
that's churning back here.
Yeah.
And then it'll come out. We'll be sitting there eating and go, well, but what if you put it in the box upside down instead? And then like, whoa, wait. And then we're drawing on napkins, and he's got a whole book and something. Yeah. So it's a good time.
It's basically how Magic After Dark works.
Sweet. How about the episode?
What do you want to do? We're both thinking, and that will work. Let's do that.
We have. I think
never any.
We have. Yes. No. We have a. We have a same idea of that. I feel like we have similar senses of humor and vibes for what we want the overall show vibe to be. We know what the overall vibe of the show should be, so then segments kind of pop out, and then they end up just fitting the same kind of aesthetic.
And the aesthetic, let's say the aesthetic, the pink to the green to the green.
Whoa, we're in the same house right now.
I didn't even notice there was a border between those videos, actually. Yeah.
Are you serious?
But do you think it's a time where we get to know these guys a little more?
I was gonna say the exact same.
Okay, all right.
I feel like I know them now just a little bit, but I knew that you were thinking, and so
you know what that time is, guys?
Do you know what the time is?
You know what time it is?
Ladies and gentlemen, it's that time. It's time for 20 questions. It's time for 20 questions. Yeah, it's time for 20 questions. It's time for 20 questions. Yeah, put 2 minutes on the clock. 2 minutes on the clock. Put 2 minutes on the clock. 2 minutes on the clock. Here we go.
Blaze is gone.
And
He's lagging a lot. Can't even see him right now. Ladies and
You're
gentlemen,
kidding.
he didn't think that song was that much longer. Like it's only like a 15-second song.
it's like he's got to have listened to that a couple times now.
You're kidding. He's
Yeah,
left
yeah,
the frame, right?
yeah.
He's not lagging, is he? Oh,
Hey!
okay.
Like, there he is. I was like, Blaze, the song's not that long. Where
I
did
know,
you go?
I know it's not that long of a song. I was
It's like the other songs are
like,
long.
maybe there's enough
Eat
time
some
for me to
protein.
run away. Okay, we're good. We're good. So we need to know about you. You guys knew you didn't know we had songs, did you?
That was good.
Yeah,
That was good.
I was doing a dance. I don't know if you guys could see our camera.
Full
but-
on real song. I definitely couldn't see, but we've got full on real songs. Definitely 100% real. So now you guys get 2 minutes on the clock to answer 20 questions.
Okay.
20 questions.
Are these questions about us or about you or about?
These
science,
are questions
weird
about questions.
Science, mathematics,
Oh, sweet.
Engineering and technology.
yeah, astronomy,
That's awesome.
a couple
Okay.
astronomy
Yeah.
ones.
Astrology,
Yeah.
I'm so excited.
All right.
So yeah, we'll give you 2 minutes. We're gonna ask as many questions as we can, rapid
Yeah,
fire. But both you have to answer independently.
Oh,
Yeah.
Independently?
So,
oh, you're
yeah.
gonna address us
Yeah.
independently?
Oh, we're gonna give you 4 minutes because
4
it's
minutes. Yeah,
duo.
4
Oh,
minutes. We
okay.
gotta go 4 minutes.
Yeah,
4
we
minutes
give
on the
4
clock.
minutes.
We don't have that
Sweet.
song.
We're good 4 minutes.
4 minutes.
We got,
4 minutes on the clock. Here we
I gotta
go.
change
All
the
right.
song now.
Yeah. So we've got right here
Cool.
4 minutes. And ready?
I'm ready.
Set. Go.
Favorite color?
Blue green.
Deep purple.
Biggest pet peeve.
Timeliness.
It's fine. It's fine.
Oh, I love that answer. Where did you grow up?
East Coast, Boston, Vermont.
LA. Yeah. Valley Boy.
What always makes you laugh?
Eddie Izzard comedy.
The world. Life itself.
The world.
What's your secret talent?
Magic.
Oh my god.
Secret
talent. Oh my gosh. I don't know. Cooking.
He's really good at baking bread.
Biscuits.
Oh yeah. Totally.
It's
Oh,
like, you're lagging,
Okay.
Al.
Okay, I thought that Jax
Oh,
hadn't
did I
said his
not say
answer.
one? Oh, cooking. Yeah.
Also.
Yeah. It's grilling, baby.
Grilling. His steaks.
First time you ever saw a magic trick.
Elementary school. Yeah. Someone did a bird act. Doves came from the back of the house. It was amazing.
Honestly, couldn't tell you. I had a magic kit when I was a kid. Don't remember if it had a video or anything with it. No idea.
If you could have one superpower, what would it be?
Stop time. Easy.
Invisibility.
Whoa.
Dream performance venue.
Oh. I mean, there are so many, depending on what.
I know. Can I be sappy and say the next one that I'm going to perform at? Legitimate. How I feel that.
Yeah, what is it?
Oh,
Oh,
Black
you
Red
have-
Rose. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Just
Oh,
whichever
you're just
one.
saying in general, like,
whichever
yeah.
one is the next one. Yeah.
Whatever's
Oh
on
my
the
god, I don't even know. I mean, like House on the Rock. That'd be crazy.
That would be sick.
That'd be crazy. I'll go with that. House on the Rock. That'd be crazy.
Your most cherished memory?
I want.
I was like, they just lagged.
and say forgetting things and then remembering them again. Like when I remember something forgotten, is always something beautiful.
Probably just a lot of like family dinners, big family summer dinners on the back porch, just kind of like getting the whole family together. A lot of those.
Favorite food. Speaking of dinners.
I mean, they're all so good. They're so different.
Yeah.
Chocolate mousse, sushi,
Yeah.
mozzarella sticks.
Chipotle burritos.
Chipotle
burritos.
That's not on my
Burritos
list.
that you
That's
guys
not on
lay in
my
the
list.
tramped up.
It's a chimichanga, damn it.
Favorite movie?
Ooh. God. I just rewatched this one recently from my childhood, but Stands Up, The Iron Giant. I don't know if it's my favorite, but it's damn good.
I don't know why this is coming to me, but Le Jeté, it's a French silent film. It's about time travel. It's amazing.
Bougie. Favorite pizza topping?
Favorite pizza topping? Pineapple and olive.
Nah, keep it simple. I want like pepperoni and mushrooms, maybe. Like, dude, ricotta cheese on pizza, underrated.
Favorite magician?
Ooh.
Darren Brown.
Yeah, I mean, he was definitely an inspiration for both of us for a long time. Although I would have to say probably Ricky Jay was my like.
Jay.
Yeah.
If you won the lottery, what's the first thing you'd buy?
A house.
Boat? I don't know.
I think they might have made it through the least amount of questions.
You guys
Are you
were
serious?
Yeah.
You guys were real bad.
Well,
Yeah,
we
really
weren't
bad.
rapid fire because we get a little back
Yeah,
and forth
listen,
going.
quality
you
over
know.
quantity.
The Everston's got a whole lot of back and forth in way quicker.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well,
You
yeah.
guys were like, so. It's like-
So I was like, favorite pizza topping, and this guy's making a pizza. He goes, "Oh, pepperoni," but then you gotta add some ricotta
But
cheese.
listen, you gotta like
Ricotta.
Dude,
Dude,
okay. Pepperoni, ricotta cheese, mushrooms, also an option, and then garlic knot crust from like a nice Sicilian, like that is a top tier pizza.
Is it delivery? Am I
It's
going there?
simple.
I gotta know where it
It's
is.
DiGiorno.
The plates.
No, it's true.
Yeah.
It's true. There are things that I would put on
Yeah.
some pizzas at some places that I would not put on pizzas at other places. You gotta know your pizza.
I'd be really happy if we answered the least amount of questions. Actually, I'd be really
Oh, you certainly have answered the
Oh,
least.
yeah!
100%.
We did say
100%.
We're
We
gonna
never
break
had a
records.
slower get. You guys had 4 whole minutes.
4 minutes. Most guys have 2
Yeah, but you
minutes.
forget that between our brains, there's like a third
that's where
brain
the answer comes from.
that connects us. So we're really answering for 3 people.
Yes,
So we have to
yes.
converse with them.
Yes.
The mind meld first.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was like, most people that we've had a couple to get like 2 people on, they're like, well, if we do 4 minutes, they have like a minute to spare.
And they get through
And I'm
23 questions or whatever.
Yeah,
Oh,
we're
sick.
like 23 instead of 20, and we were like, I'm like, we're on 13 and there's 45 seconds left or something. I was like,
We did it. There we go.
we're
You
not
set a
gonna
record.
do this.
Setting and breaking records. That's our
Yeah,
goal.
that's our
Record
game.
set.
Now,
New
our next
record.
question, our next question would have been, what is your most highly recommended magic product or book?
See, I don't know how people answer these quickly. Like that.
I mean, they use the noggins, you know?
I mean, I could just say something, but it wouldn't be a very good answer.
Product is probably a book of theory or a book on performance aspects.
Yeah.
No tricks, 0 tricks included.
Yeah, like
I don't think
absolute
anyone's
magic
named
or
a
something.
trick yet. Maybe.
Yeah.
Tricks
think
with Your
most
Mind,
people read the book.
or Tricks of the Mind, Darren Brown.
not
Great,
bad.
great like intro book, I would say.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's great.
That.
Yeah, that.
What did you say?
Is that your answer?
Sorry. I mean, yeah. I don't. God. Like best.
Still thinking about pizza.
Or yeah. Sorry.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah. I feel like
Ricotta cheese.
ricotta cheese. You gotta put cheese on cheese. That's what's hard. Honestly, I'm really tempted to say something like I want it to be like the movie The Illusionist, or like one of like a Neil Gaiman novel or something. I feel like those taught me so much more about what magic should look and feel like than almost anything written by a magician or like about actual magic.
Very true.
Interesting.
Yeah, absolutely.
I don't know.
Because those are inspiration for what hasn't been done, instead of pulling just from magic tricks that are already out there, which is like I guess the majority of magic out there is like some kind of rehashing of something that's been done. But if you just pull your inspiration from narrative, from fiction, you're like, this would be some crazy shit if this happened in real life, and then you actually make it happen. Like that's
Or you just sort of steer things into that feeling. Like, how did that magic look and feel? Make your magic feel like that, even if it's not the same effect. You can,
yeah. So we're gonna just we're just gonna sit and look at each other.
Yeah.
This is the meditation segment of the show.
TM.
Are you into TM?
Not Really?
My parents
Not
are big
too
into
much.
transcendental meditation. I grew up with it. I find
Really?
it's a value in in some ways.
Is it beneficial? I mean, I guess it's a good thing to meditate.
Yes, I'd say mindfulness and thoughtfulness and just sort of like spending time with yourself, checking in with your body and stuff like that. Like, there are people that take it to extremes and there are people that do, but like that core, I don't really know how you go wrong with that.
How is it that both of you ended up in LA after meeting each other in New York? Did you both make the conscious decision, like, oh, hey, you're going to LA, I'm going to go too? Or, yeah.
I mean, yeah, kind of. I was doing like digital work. I was working in politics as a political consultant, but it was all like digital and online, so I could do it from anywhere. So we were doing various things. And then Jackson was moving back to LA. I was moving other places, and I was like, well, good move to LA too.
And we had the wildest road trip.
Yeah.
And it was amazing.
That was
drove from New York City to
LA.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it was a good time. Many shenanigans in between.
Stuff.
Nice. So here's a question for you, because I get I do a lot of pretty much all mentalism, and so I get it in a show where you explain that what's happening is not real and stuff, and you still get people after the show that are like, yeah, I don't buy it. This is real. And we were just talking about meditation, and I had a lady come to me and she was like, you must be like a yogi. And I was like, no. And she's like, but you've read the book Autobiography of a Yogi. And I was like, no. And she was like, people can be in two places at the same time. This is how the show works. Like, this is crazy. And at that point, this is fun. A little bit fun, because you don't want to say to the person, no, you're crazy, what you're saying right now, because they truly believe, obviously, that this is something true. And also you're trying to sell the show a little bit as well. Like, what just happened is really cool, but I told you right at the start that none of this is real. But they already don't believe you, right?
Yeah, it's like she thinks it's really cool because of these reasons that were not true. But you're like, I don't want to take away her reason for it being cool.
Right.
Yeah, 100%. And so I always am justifying that. And I know I've talked to a lot of other mentalists that go through the same thing, where someone comes to you after and they're like, no, this guy is legit. You lied to everybody at the start that this was fake.
Can I ask you a question?
Yeah.
How does it work?
With mentalism and what do you mean?
Yeah, how does the mentalism in your show work?
Well, I mean, depending on what show I'm doing, it's very story-based, right? So the show I'm talking or writing now is all about my life's journey and stuff and this transformational period. So, I mean, that show is a little different. The other show I did was Deja Vu. So it was talking about having this dream sequence that it was all on social media and stuff, and that they could go back and see at the end of the show that everything had been pre-predicted and stuff. Right. So she was thinking that somehow I'm able to be in like two places at the same time. Came and seen the show multiple times. So the outcomes are almost, or like a good chunk of the outcomes are the same every single show. Obviously, there's parts that have to be different. But so to her, this was like an out-of-body experience, or I actually was having these visions and dreams. Like, she was very detailed. Like, so you saw my family in the front row and knew that I would say this. And at that point, do you just say to the person, like, no, like, you're crazy. Like, did you listen to anything that I talked about at the beginning? This is a theatrical performance. Or do you go, well, if you went to a theatrical performance, a play, you don't go to the actor after the play and go, well, what you just did on stage wasn't real. You assume that it's not real. They're doing a play, right? Yeah. So it's very tough to then, like, I've had people come and are like, I've spoken to my spirit ancestors, and what you did tonight proved that what I do is real. And I'm like, oh my goodness. Like, and that, like, you cannot tell someone that they're not able to speak to their spirit ancestors, because, like, then you're telling them that you think they're crazy, right? It's like, and I think that sometimes, but you can't say that and break someone's belief that they may have. So I'm always like, well, this is what mentalism is. And I explain what mentalism is. And a lot of times they just don't care. Like they want to believe that you are to have some powers or something like that. So I was interested to see what you guys, with especially doing the seance stuff, is like. I'm sure that you've dealt with people afterwards that even if you say this is not real, what we're doing is for entertainment purposes and stuff, still afterwards go, yeah, but this had to be real, right? Like,
I almost
does that make sense?
Oh yeah. Do you have something you want to say? Or
I feel like he's thinking about it. He's
he's
like,
yeah.
This is a very good question.
lot about this space, and we've approached this a lot of different ways depending on the performance. So it's interesting to try and kind of
I think it's tough too. It depends on the person that is, asking you as well, right?
Yeah.
So
one interesting thing that you mentioned a couple times, so I just want to highlight it, is that if you tell someone that something is not something, you're not giving them a direction. So I think in a way that misdirection is not saying, hey, don't look at this. It's saying, hey, look at this. If you want people to follow a through line, it's not enough, or it is insignificant to say that something is not happening. It is more significant to say what is happening, which is why I asked you, how does it work?
yeah.
Even if you say a real explanation or a pseudo explanation,
Yeah.
maybe you pretend it's more body reading, whatever, something,
100%. And that happens in the show as well.
Right.
And I feel like that is why people go. And obviously, like I wouldn't get on stage and perform some, like everything that I perform is more serious, more, yes, this is actually happening, even though I've already given the justification that it may not be happening the way that they're seeing it.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't think you can get on stage and say this is fake, and here I'm gonna make it look fake the whole time either, right? And that's bad. So it's interesting because obviously with mentalism, I think most mentalists probably go about their shows in a more serious role, as an actor playing the role of a mentalist. That you are talking about body language and stuff like that. So it does seem theoretically correct to someone that has no knowledge of that art form, right? And I definitely do my background research and stuff, and I've read lots of books on body language and stuff. So everything I'm saying could be correct if you weren't using magic, right? And so there's always that where it's like, yes, this could be true. This is not how I'm doing it here, right? But and so I find it.
I think maybe can I back the conversation up for a second, unless you have something you want to.
No, I would just have a number of things flashing.
Okay, so I think
I think this
pissed him off now. He's like,
well, this is just a big question. I mean, you joked that the whole episode could be us talking about altar, and this was sort of an offshoot of that. Of like,
but that's what. I thought
both
it was cool.
Studied with an anthropology professor who specifically studied traditional practices and concepts of magic with a number of different indigenous groups around the world and stuff like that. And we talked in that class a lot about what belief means and what it means for magic to be real. And there are fascinating anthropological ethnographies where they would go and people would live with these tribes and talk to the shaman and stuff like that. And they would get to know the shaman enough to say like, hey, how are you? Like, we saw you hide something in your hand. We saw you do stuff. And the shaman would admit, oh yeah, I use sleight of hand to do a lot of this, but that doesn't make it less real for them. For the other people in the culture, in the community, they would even then ask them like, well, do you think the guy in the next village over, is he for real? And they go, oh yeah, for sure. Absolutely. For sure. Yeah. Or even like, and so we think of belief as this really binary, like it is real 100%, that's what it is, or it's not. And part of what we enjoy playing with, and why I don't think we have a really clear answer to your question, is playing with that spectrum of saying like, well, it's not, we'll say at the outset of the show, we're not really going to talk to spirits. We're not, like you said, we want to give the honest disclaimer in that sense.
Yep.
But on the other hand, the things that happen on that stage are true in the sense that they happen. You're not putting VR goggles on. We're not, stuff like that. So in some sense, if you have that experience, then it is real. Now, what's more important, and this is where what you were saying starts to get a little grayer, is, but I think we as performers have a moral imperative to make sure that people aren't using what they saw in that show to try and make decisions out in the rest of their life. Say like, this is true and absolutely exists, and kind of whatever you want to believe about it inside the theater, that is very reasonable. But then kind of being clear about, but the methods that we use are not the ones that it sounds like your spirit guide or people, whatever they're bringing to you, are not what they're using. And so although we can oftentimes find the same results, oh, that's awesome that you're interested in this, I'm glad that you did this, we come at this from a really different angle. We've done our studies and our esoteric practices or whatever you want to call it, but that's not really how we engage with it. And then putting it in that gray area can sound very like fuzzy, like, oh, he's not saying it's not true. But like you're saying, it's not really our place to tell them what to believe spiritually.
Yeah, and that's and I think that's where we went with the Evasons a little bit, was like, they're doing a show at this median village,
right? Yeah,
and it's like, and me and Blaze both were like, well, but that's not real. Like what they're doing is not real, right? To us.
Oh, it's called Lilydale, by the way.
Lilydale, yeah. So me and Blaze were like, this can't be real. Do you guys believe that the medians are real and stuff? And then, they had a really great take on it, and it was like, these people here are not hurting anybody, and they do believe that this is real to them. And so, but we found other funny things where, like at Lilydale, you can take a course to become a medium. And
right.
It's like, how do you teach someone to talk to dead people if not? So there was a whole gamut of like, what is it? And so for me, it was always like, obviously, and that's why I wanted your input on it, was because obviously you guys are, the seance thing definitely opens the door for those questions.
Oh yeah.
And there's been countless TV shows on stuff like that. So like for me, I'm doing pretty not super deep, dark mentalism. It's more, I wouldn't say traditional stuff, but like more corporate style shows and stuff,
right.
other than my theater shows. And it's always fascinating to hear what other mentalists or people that kind of dabble in that area and stuff say to people, because I'm sure we all get it, where people like just truly, no matter what you say to them, they believe, but it hinders from what their beliefs are outside of the show, right? So like,
I'll give you a line. So I, in addition to magic stuff, I do a lot of tarot work, both kind of in theatrical settings and just I find it a really powerful, just like personal reflective practice. As we've just been talking about, I don't tend to see it as a talking to the spirit world thing. That's a whole other conversation. But when you do those kinds of readings, you get a lot of people asking you a lot of questions about this. And the line that I always landed on, and I will freely give it to everyone to use, is I don't think of myself as psychic in the traditional sense, because it covers so many bases. If they are a non-believer, they get to go, oh, see, he said he's not psychic. If they are a believer, they go, oh, he's psychic, but not in the tradition, not in the way that I might know, not in my practice, not in the tradition that I'm aware of. He's found his own way to do it. And that sort of lets me sit in that gray area and go, no, not in the tradition. I don't do any of that. I don't do that kind of spirit work that you've been talking about. That's not the way that I engage with this. But then to the other people that want to live in the narrative, they go, oh, not in the traditional sense. So he is doing something, and that's why it's fun. And that's why, so they can keep a little kind of excitement in it. And then you can kind of choose where to walk from there. But that line has always served me well in terms of kind of setting yourself into saying, well, wait, I'm not all the way out there, but I don't want to just like shoot anybody down by going, no, it's all a lie, it's all fake. It's all.
Yeah. Well, and that's why I asked, because it gets to that point, right? Like you don't want to come off stage or wherever you're at and be like, oh yeah, everything I did was fake. If you just look at this is how it works, and you don't want to do that because they just enjoyed themselves so much, right? Like.
Mm-hmm. But honestly, I would say that applies to magic as well as mentalism. Like if somebody goes like, that was an incredible card trick. How'd you get the card to appear over there? That was crazy. You also don't want to be like, oh yeah, no, I just like, it was a duplicate. There's a flap here. And then there's a guy.
Yeah, exactly.
Like that applies to mentalism as well. It's more about making sure that people realize like this stuff is awesome and cool and can feel true in that moment. But these techniques, however real you want to think of them, will not serve you outside of this theater.
Jax has been balancing a thought on his onesie for so long.
There's a number of things here. First thing is, I think that the approach of leaning into a narrative so hard that is obvious that you're lying, but it feels like you're telling the truth while you're on stage, and off stage you acknowledge the lie of it. I think that is beautiful, and there is a lot of like theatrical kind of theory that supports that. It's a very Brechtian sort of performance style where the actors will be mingling out amongst the crowd before the show begins in regular actor form. They're just the person, and then when they're on stage, they're King Lear. But there's also the flip side of that. I feel like it's those two binaries, and as far as you can get on those polar opposites, the better you'll be, because in the middle is the murky gray area. On the other side of being a complete liar and acknowledging the fakeness of it, the theatrical conceit of it when you're off stage, is to, which is where I land, which is to never lie, which is to always tell the truth. Anything that I say on stage, I 100% believe in. I am not saying anything fake. So if they come up to me after the show and they say, oh, well, blah, 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 the thing you said, I'm like, yes, because I believe in that thing. I'm not trying to say that the card jumps to the top because of its ambition, or some silly kind of plot that people use to simply do the material.
We figured out on this show a long time ago that it's not an ambitious card. It's maybe just slightly ambitious.
Little ambitious.
Very little bit.
Yeah, it's a card with a couple goals,
Enough times.
He has the goal to go to the top of the deck, which is like a couple inches away.
Yeah.
Like he took one step. He's in a 12-step program, but he's only gotten to the first step.
The odd time he makes a change, maybe changes his whole appearance, but always falls back. Always falls back. So not really that ambitious.
Yeah, he really
always
always telling the truth. That's a theory that's very commonly held right now.
Or
I
always
think that's something to
setting the narrative in something that you can believe in.
Yes.
For sure.
I mean, well, it's not even that. It's always telling the truth. And if you can't say what is truly happening, don't say what's truly happening. Say the thing around it, but always never lie. And then that way, no one can question you on anything.
It's okay. I lie all the time.
He's like, I only tell the truth, and he's like, no.
Yeah, one of us
only what you're talking about.
He's like, I can't remember
which is which.
What question should you ask us?
Yeah.
So
he's like, I can't
always
answer that one. Ask Jackson.
That's
it.
If he's the liar when he said the name, that was a lie.
Yeah.
So you still don't know which is which.
Yeah,
Unless
this is all.
He's the one that tells the truth.
Let me get the Banachek book out.
Okay.
Who has the ring in which hand? Yeah.
But yeah, I think with what you guys are talking about and the responsibility that one kind of has when doing something that can be interpreted in any kind of spiritual way. I mean, there's obviously the example of the path you don't want to go down as an entertainer, which would be like, for example, if you were to say like a Peter Popoff, where it's like you end up with people not taking their medication because they feel like the experience that they've been given, which is someone like Peter Popoff using, or which is like a televangelist for anybody that doesn't know that guy in particular. But a lot of televangelists, not to discredit all of them, but to sort of, a lot of them use magician methodologies in order to create experiences just like we do. But instead of saying this is for entertainment, they say we are actually contacting the divine. You are actually healed. You actually have undergone this transformation. And in doing so, you end up with people that end up in the audience of these kind of televangelist performances feeling as though they've undergone a real transformation rather than just an emotional transformation, and then now stop taking medication or change their course of life outside of the confines of these four walls. And that's where it's detrimental and damaging, and it's kind of like about how you're able to present. What were you going to say, Zach? Yeah.
Well, I was going to say, but even there, like that's very much, I think, speaks to what Jackson was just saying about like not lying in that sense. In that, like they say, and you're healed now. So then if you take that, logically would mean I don't have to check my things because I'm healed. Whereas even in a seance setting, but like I'm going to receive a message now, and this is that's it. Like then even after the show, be like, look, even if that was real, in the context of that narrative and in the way that was presented, that was the one singular message that isn't telling you, and the message isn't going to be, we're not going to tell them that they're healed or that they should sell their house, or that we're not going to tell them that. Like instead, it's going to be something within that narrative, and they're going to go. So even if it were real, logically, they shouldn't be able to take that information and use it to make some crazy life choice.
Yeah,
and that's why it's still true. It still can be true because it shouldn't have that kind of effect. People often talk about like if you're going to bring a spectator up and have them be the one that does the magic, there needs to be something that makes them feel like, why can I do the magic now when I couldn't before?
Yeah.
But the flip side of that is also why they can't do the magic later, because they don't have the powers now. They're not in that context. They're not in the space. And so that could stop them from being able to say, oh, well, now that I did that thing, I don't have to do all that stuff because I've got magic powers now. Like, no. You have to put it on both ends to confine it to that theatrical space.
Yeah, exactly. And that was actually something we were talking about the other day, Zach and I. Was just like, because I was working on a routine that was that kind of context of, someone is getting the experience as though they are capable of doing something that they're not normally capable of doing. But then, you have to give some justification that adds to that atmosphere of why it is that once they walk away, they suddenly can't keep doing this crazy thing. But
but also that will tell them so that they know, hey, you can't do that, so they don't go out expecting to be able to do it. And that's where you get into the more like, you were my spirit medium. I had them do auto writing. That must mean you have a connection to the spirit. So when you leave this theater, do you still have that connection to the spirits? No, because you only had it here on my stage when I was doing that thing because of what I was doing. So even if I were to truthfully continue that narrative, you trying to do it outside the theater is a no-go.
Well, and here's the funny thing, because you mentioned that Darren Brown was like favorite magician. Now, I know people in England that if you said, here's how Darren Brown does this trick, right? They will say, no, that's how you do the trick. What Darren does is real, right? And I got into mentals. I did a stage illusions and stuff way back in the day. And for me, I always said, when someone sees a woman get cut in half in a theater, they're not calling the police going, I just witnessed a murder on stage, right? Or this woman's being assaulted or anything like that, right? Because they take it as entertainment. For me, the thing that really drew me to mentalism was that people leave the theater going, wow, can that guy really read minds? They are still questioning it, which to me was really the art form, is like when you're killing it, like Darren Brown, people leave that theater going, well, yeah, Darren can read minds. There's no question about it, right? And so they put the power on him. And it doesn't matter how much Darren, again, explains that it's not real. If you ask people over in Europe, is Darren Brown real? 100% yes. Because I've had those conversations with people. I said, this is how Darren, I didn't say this is how Darren does it, but I was talking about tricks. And they're like, oh, yeah, other mentalists, they do tricks. What Darren does is real.
See, I feel like he almost, because he realized he could get such credence because he's such a strong performer and he has such strong methods, like he is all of that. But he realized, sort of in the narrative sense that we were talking about, is like once you can get people to start to believe that, both the logical place to go and I think the reasonable place to go is like push it so much further to the point where they can't believe it. Like it's still just as strong and just as believable, just as feels just as real because of the power of the methods and stuff like that. But the narrative that you're offering is so absurd and so far beyond. And I think that's why, even I don't know for a fact, but I think why somebody like Darren Brown would be drawn to say his like trick or treat specials or those like really immersive specials where it's like, no, we're going to not just do a trick for somebody on stage. We're going to transform this entire person's reality, because that's so clearly like just take that narrative so far to the absolute absurd extreme where it's like you couldn't, that it can't be real. And even the audience outside of that show can see that it's not real in a sense. But like, that's what, I don't know, like once you can get people to believe it on stage, take it off stage, take it further, make it bigger, make it more absurd.
The funny thing about Darren, I feel like I feel like he lies very definitively inside the theatrical, I am on stage, this is real, I am off stage, that's obviously fake. The interesting thing with him, though, is that he couches a lot of his premises within a real setting. So it's not like we're in a fantasy realm, we're in an altered version of real life. Because it's something where, like, if you're on stage with him, you feel a completely different energy. And then if you meet him off stage, he's a completely different person. You don't even get the feeling.
Oh, yeah.
You know?
Yeah, I would say yes and no. I went out for dinner with Darren Brown, and he has this thing about him, this X factor, that I'm sitting at the table eating dinner, and I just want to watch Darren eat dinner. You know, and I'm like,
oh, I would love to.
What's
what's
Darren? Yeah, but that's how it was. I'm sitting there eating with all the guys, and I'm just like, what is Darren thinking, right? Like, so there's still that he still has that draw to him.
Oh yeah,
which is, you know, it's a magnetic energy that comes from him, I guess. But magnetism. And so I just, to me it's interesting because, like you said, he lies incredibly on stage, like massively on stage, which you know, obviously leaves people leaving the theater going, that is real, that is great. And I think some of his specials, like, you know, where he's hypnotizing people or doing like the art steal and stuff like that, like those are incredible. And to those people, it's real. Obviously, to the viewer with the hypnosis stuff, it's not real. Like they're creating that atmosphere, right? So, I mean, I think it's always walking that fine line. I've always just said, like, if the person came, like with the lady with being a yogi and stuff, obviously she has beliefs in that. I am not doing that, and I made that very clear, but I'm not also going to tell her what you believe in is fake as well. And I think that's the hard part, is because when people come with prior beliefs, so if they went to your show believing that, you know, in mediums and stuff like that, and you do your show, they may leave going, even if they didn't ask you any questions, they may leave going, oh, those two speak to dead people, 100%, right? And so I think that's where it's always that fine line. And maybe I haven't gone down the seance side of things because of that, because I was a pastor for a long time, and so I feel like maybe not a good idea for me. But I'm always, I've said I want to do more stuff like that, like especially, you know, the Halloween time, like really go into that. But that's why I was interested to see what your both your takes were on that stuff. So.
Part of it is also just like at some point. Oh, sorry, I was just gonna say, like, at some point at the outset you say this is a theatrical thing, and then if they walk away from it believing stuff, at some point that's not, like, you can only do so much.
Yeah,
you know,
it's not your fault at that point. They have to understand that they're coming to watch a show.
Right. Exactly. Like you bought a ticket. This is a theatrical group. If you look at the website. It says what it says, you know, it's there. Yeah,
exactly. And it's that kind of balance where, like, even a week ago today, I had this gig, and at this performance I was doing some mentalism, and it was so interesting how this woman, despite the fact that I didn't say anything spiritual at all the entire time, and I was using the premise that everything was psychological, and was very clear, you know, like just almost like with slightly pseudo explanations throughout what I was doing, but it was like very clear that I was giving a psychological, like, you know, premise for what was happening, and that this was something that was not at all like contacting a spirit realm or anything like that. But then she started turning to other people and going like, oh, I've seen like magicians and mentalists on TV. What this guy's doing is spiritual. And I was just like, oh, not really. No, it's not. But at the same time, it's like, and so then we talked about it, but I had something that was more, you know, a clever way of like wrapping it up that I don't really remember at this moment. But like, it was kind of a thing like where like if you see a painting at an art gallery, there's not side by side that painting an essay that's telling you exactly how you're supposed to think and feel about this piece of art. You're just being given the piece of art. And the thing is, like, you can explain and say that something is not something, but you don't need to tell someone exactly how to feel You know, I feel like that
Well-
strips away some of the artistic interpretation, right?
Here's the other thing too. It's also not written up how it was painted. Because you got guys like, and I can't remember his name, that did he was at Magic Live and he did like all the art pieces there. And he did one with Teller and the Rose. And so he cut himself and put his blood into the paint so that it was like more like Teller's thing. And I was like, we found that out because he was doing a presentation on it. But if you just looked at the painting, you wouldn't be able to tell that that's blood. You'd think, oh, it's paint. So to just go even further on Blaze's thing, it's not like the artist also says, and also not only is this what you should feel by looking at this is how I created this as well, right?
Yeah, and I think that the way that I responded to that woman in that instance was I was saying it might feel like it's spiritual because I'm talking to you about someone in your life that's really close to you, but this is not some kind of God-given gift or ability. This is just something that I've practiced and this is skill, and that's what I'm sharing with you. You know, and it was some kind of thing like that. You know, where I also have a fine line where she's like, what skill is it? You know, she could be like, oh, this guy's practiced some kind of skill to talk to demons. But at the same time, it's like, you know, at least I'm not. And I feel like it was sort of in the same sense. I prefer the way Zach was able to encapsulate it of, you know, I'm not a psychic in the traditional sense. But at the same time, I wasn't really leaning into anything mystical in that moment.
Right.
But
when
Zach,
they say that, that's when you got to go. I usually go, I pray to this guy. What is his name again? Belza. And usually they go Beelzebub, and I'm like, oh yeah, I prayed to him for like 3 years straight, and now I just do this stuff. It's pretty.
But
It
just
just started happening one day.
Here's the thing, and it might be hard to answer this.
I totally
It's fine.
lost you guys audio.
Oh, can you hear
might
us?
be AirPods.
Maybe it's just me.
Blaze, can you hear us?
I can hear you guys.
Okay, cool.
Blaze, question for you.
Yeah.
You
It
said
might
the
have
premise
just been
is
me. One
psychological.
second. Here we go.
Yeah.
Let's get rid of
Do you
these.
believe in the premise? Do you believe that you're doing it psychologically?
No, that's
Check,
so that's an
check.
interesting thing is like yes and no. So what I've found is that when I ask people certain questions, they do end up kind of, it's like becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy where people end up actually enacting these subtle social and body language cues that I am reading and picking up on. And they end up actually giving me pieces of information that if I were to be cold reading them, I would be using that. But I'm not cold reading them. I very warm, burning hot reading them. Like I've got the information, but at the same time, it's almost like kind of like I'm justifying things with things that I'm actually seeing, you know, and I'm telling them about subtle nuances with their behavior and the way that they responded to things. And I'm not making it up. I'm actually watching them and I am telling them the truth about what they're doing. It's just whether or not those things directly lead to me being able to extract that information is the missing link, you know?
Yeah, but that's the thing. What I am, and I don't mean to be difficult here because I feel like I am being difficult.
This is a
But
good conversation.
if you, the performer,
Yeah.
anyone, doesn't matter, whoever you at home, don't believe in your premise, don't be surprised when the audience thinks of the premise of their own. If you do not fully, wholeheartedly believe, say, yes, I am doing this psychologically. This is how I'm doing it. I am seeing this. You're giving off these tells. This is what you're doing, and that leads me to the Seven of Hearts. If you can't believe that,
At least while you're
how
on stage.
can they believe it?
Hmm.
You have to believe it 100%, more so than anyone else in the room. That's what's going to make them believe.
And then even afterwards, being able to wholeheartedly say, like, no, I was using all of these psychological tools. I was aiding them with some magical trickery because that's what I do on stage. But I was using those psychological tools. I was looking at your eyebrow move, and I was using some magic stuff to augment it, to supplement it.
Yeah.
But yeah, and being able to commit to that, and that's where I think the belief and like Jackson does it or the way that Jackson thinks about it is by sort of like not lying on stage. I think about it by sort of choosing a more capacious understanding of what magic is and what magic can mean, so that I can kind of find more truth in it. But yeah, you have to. If you can't sit down and have a whole conversation with them afterwards about like, yeah, let's talk about how true that was in its way, And I think that's where we both land. Like
Yeah.
Somebody came up to me after showing up like, oh, that's awesome that you had that experience. That's so cool. That's crazy. I've never had that experience. That's never been the way that I've experienced that on stage, but that's really cool. I think about it this way, because then you're sort of like, you can take what they're giving and go like, that's crazy. I'm not telling you you're wrong. I'm telling you that that's not how I understand it or think of myself as doing it. But like, you can kind of take that into your whole larger conversation of, but how do you do it? What would that mean to me? What would that mean to?
For sure. And saying that though, that's why I said like, because I see so many mentalists do this where they don't read anything about body language and stuff, and then do get up on stage and they're like, I saw your eyebrow go up. That means you're lying. Or you looked up and to the right. That means you're lying, right? That's the common one. Oh, you looked up to the right, you're lying. And it's like, no, that's not true. Like, if you read any book on body language, that's not true at all. But it's probably the one that's thrown out there the most by people doing pseudo-mentalism, right?
Yeah.
And so that's where I find it difficult. It's like, just take an afternoon and read one book, please. And you'll understand, here's 10 things that you can read on body language to at least then be able to have the conversation afterwards, right?
And this is even the micro example of like why narrative forward magic is so important. It's like, that is, sure, that might not be a whole show spanning narrative, but like, that's 1,000% the narrative of that effect. Even if you're telling a story while you do it, that is the functional narrative of that effect. And so if you have not fleshed out and thought through that narrative, it's not going to be a very good story. People are not going to follow it. People are not going to believe it. And that's just, it's just that simple at the end of the day.
Yep. No, I would agree. I think Jackson has hated all of our answers, but no, Zach just, he's just like, all right, here you go.
It's just different ways. Again, it's different ways of thinking about it. I think we've all arrived at very much the same point.
Yeah.
It's just,
100%. And I only brought it up because I know it is a controversial thing, because I know that there are guys that are out there that are doing stuff and that are like, no, and maybe they're doing more cold reading and they're like, this is 100% real. And take it as I'm a psychic or whatever. And then there's guys like the Ebbsons who are clearly saying we are not real, but then doing median conferences, which are thinking they're real. So that's, it was very interesting talking to them about that, because, obviously, we've had our talks about, not being real or real and stuff, but it's always tough when people come with their own prior beliefs that could be so much different than yours and how they leave, right? So
there's a structure, or I don't know, a vocabulary that used to be used in more like spiritual circles and stuff like that, but I find very applicable here, which is there are open eye mediums who 100% know that it's fake, believe that it's fake, will talk to you about how it's fake, as long as they're not in front of paying customers, stuff like that. Then there's close eye mediums who 100% believe it's real, and whether they're doing it by some, they're getting lucky because they happen to be able to read body language, or because somebody else is cheating that they don't know about it, or because their customers are satisfied with whatever they are able to just authentically give them. And then there's wink eye, which is the one that I don't know, just like, it's your eyes are open and what's going on, but you gotta leave space, leave
adjacent to the pink eye mentalist. Just had a rough night.
But just being able to sort of like leave space for it so that you can have that conversation afterwards, so that somebody comes up to you afterwards, you don't have to just go, you're an idiot, I can't believe you thought that was real. Instead,
can't believe you believe it.
And you can say like, leave some space for it. But like, I remember the first time when I was getting into mentalism, the first billet effect I did, I was hanging out with one of my friends and I was doing some like card tricks for her, and then her other like apartment mates came back and they were like, oh, you do magic? And I was like, this is a perfect opportunity to try out my new little billet effect. And I did it, and it was got this kid's childhood nickname that nobody else was supposed to know. And they immediately all sat down and started going, that was crazy because he totally did this, he totally did that. And I was like, I haven't even thought of a presentation for this. I just learned this effect. And they are already like 1,000% in on how real this is. I was like, immediately, I was like, you gotta be really careful and scale this back.
It does grant that space. Mentalism does especially grant that space.
Oh yeah, and that's why I said mentalism maybe more so than magic. I think over the years, people have understood that magic now is sleight of hand. It is a trick, it's an illusion. Or with mentalism, it's fair. I'm going to say it's fairly still kind of becoming mainstream more.
Yeah.
Now people are still like, oh, I got to book a mentalist. And I have people book me and then call and go, so what is a mentalist? And I'm like, you booked me. Like, how do you not know what I do? Right. But I always explain that it's, mathematics, psychology, body language, magic, and it's everything combined, which is true because a lot of tricks that are magic tricks are mathematics. There's lots that are psychology, like in my scripting is all psychology and stuff. And there's all of these things that create mentalism to what they see as the performance, right? Now, if they take that and go, it's all psychology, then they take that as that is, right? And if they take it and they go, okay, it's all magic, then that's what they take it as. But if I always think if I explain what mentalism is, then, let them take it how they will until potentially after if they're questioning more. But
yeah, and I think and the way that you present it is so important because and that's why I think that I tend to lean a lot more towards what Jax was saying at the beginning about like being as honest as possible. I know that maybe it didn't necessarily come across that way where I was saying that there's still like one missing link there where it's like I'm being honest with everything that I'm saying.
Yeah.
But obviously there's a certain level there's an undertone of deception. But at the same time, I can still sit down and have a proper conversation and talk with this woman about the fact that even though I'm talking with you about a dead relative, and it feels very spiritual, and I can't give you any, I can't start communicating with them or whatever, but we can actually have a heart to heart, and I can talk with this person and we can talk about what they experienced and be as honest as possible. And I feel like leaning on the side of honesty is usually your safest bet because the alternative can, especially when you're when you become trapped within a lie, you can end up in a point where now you're just everything that's coming out of your mouth is a lie as you try to converse with this person afterwards about what they experienced, and you're just making up everything. Or it can be condescending because you're kind of insulting the intelligence of this person if you try and have the presentation be too outlandish, too not based in reality, and like it becomes this very fine line of like I want to respect the fact that like, and you'll hear magicians always use the term like layman, which I feel like is always such a very condescending term in and of itself to describe as somebody that didn't spend a couple hours learning a couple card tricks. It's like are you talking about essential workers, like people that actually do stuff that impacts the real world, like engineers and doctors? They are technically laymen because they don't know a couple of these card tricks, but like it doesn't mean to condescend towards them. And that's why you always I hate the phrase "it works on laymen" because it's like, okay, you're just condescending, thinking that these people are stupid. But anyways, when you have a premise that isn't encapsulated within at least a solid amount of truth that you could converse with them about afterwards, it can start to really crumble. And when they're not focusing on you and the actual experience and they're not present because they're just dissecting the bullshit that came out of your mouth, that's not beneficial to the entertainment experience at all.
I would say I agree with that, with the one exception, and I sort of mentioned it a little bit earlier, of like, if you take things to such an absurd extreme.
Agreed.
So that after the show, you can look at them with a hilariously straight face and go like, no, I told you on stage that was the Illuminati and it's why I'm wearing this tinfoil hat. And like, and it's so funny and so silly and so clear and so obvious that this is a joke story that then you can give them the wink. And even if you don't say like, yeah, so what you thought was true, it's so clear that you are just sticking with your narrative so strongly that they get to go, see, it's not even a question. It's just like, that is the narrative. And he's playing with that so hard. When we did
Zabrecki does that really well.
Zabrecki does that really well. I just remember when we did our Glassbox prediction for that radio place, like we came up with the whole, like, we did a headline prediction. Yeah. And we had this whole joking thing where we kept being like, our friend works for this organization at the newspaper, and played it into this huge comedy thing so that afterwards, if anybody asked, we'd just be like, oh no, I can't tell you where they're like. like, why would you even talk about the method? Like, no, I can't tell you he works for them, but I can't put you in touch, and it's too serious.
Yeah.
Or it's like, it's so obvious that it's a joke that they can't possibly believe you.
Yeah.
But it totally allows you to just step away from like the whole method conversation, the whole everything. And it
That's where I know you guys from. I read a newspaper article about someone that knew the guy. No.
Yeah, and also another thing is this is something that Michael Carbonaro talks about, is how whenever he's doing a performance, say for the television show, where it's something where they don't know he's a magician going into it, they experience magic in that context, and they still don't really know if he's a magician or if they've just or if they're seeing things or if they've just experienced something crazy, because he plays it off as this is just a function of the product, or this is just what it is. Like, yeah, we milk almonds, we just squeeze them, like that, And he was saying that he always answers how with the why. Instead of when somebody asks him how he did something, he imagines they asked him why he did that, and then he tells them why. So people are like, "Oh my God, how did you do that?" And he's like, "Well, because we have to get the milk out, because we need to do it for production, because we're trying to get the product, And that's a great way to dodge, and be able to, and if you're trying to be as honest as possible, or be honest within the context of the narrative, because the thing is and I guess that's a thing with when we're talking about now theater, is that there's honesty of what is honest to ask, there's something like for example, Ryan, if you were doing a performance and you are clearly playing a character and you are no longer yourself, Ryan, like the Ryan on stage and the Ryan off stage are not the same person. If I ask you a question and you're within that character, then you can answer what would be truthful for that character to respond within this alternative reality you've created.
For sure.
And then everything's justified. But if it's just you and I'm talking to Ryan and I think that you're done with the show and I think we're just hanging out having a beer, but now you're just lying to me flat out, now that's where things get uncomfortable and you feel like you're having to cover your tracks, And
I will say, this is actually part of why earlier I was talking about how we try and have sort of a thread that pulls together all of our performances and not only provides an underlying kind of like aesthetic and style and like character, but also then it is literally like you're always in, like if you're ever in that kind of setting, you are that character. And so it allows you to play into that absurd premise narratively longer, even outside of the formal performance setting, because it's so clear that like they showed up in the mentalist whatever suit, they're carrying the briefcase. Before the show they saw us walking around with the metal thing spinning on a stick, taking our readings before the show to make sure that it still works. So they know, they're already like, when they go to you after the show, they can be like, "Oh, that was crazy, how did that work?" And you wave a crystal around and get a weird look on your face and go, "Oh yeah, no, it'll still work." And you put it on like,
dude, that just made me imagine doing a mentalism routine, but you've got one of those e-meters at the Scientologists on Hollywood Boulevard.
Exactly. So make it so clear that you're still in the narrative, where it's like it's not even worth asking you how it works.
And one example of that is like Whit Hayden, who became Pop Hayden and then decided, you know what, he was a guy who grew up like he grew up in like South Carolina or something, so he had a bit of a Southern accent. He trained himself because he was an actor and did a lot of acting when he was growing up. He trained himself out of it to have a standard American accent, and for decades had a standard American accent, and that became his normal voice, performing as Whit Hayden. And then he reached a certain age where he was like, I'm not going to be the suave magician. So he was like, I'm going to create a character and then live my life as that character. And then he was like, I'm Pop Hayden. He became Pop Hayden, and now he has a Southern accent. And if you talk to him off stage, he's still Pop. He's still that guy, even though that's not his real voice, that's not his real name. But he's even talked to me about how he's gone to the lengths of, he has an act about magnetized water, and he has an act about this other geological thing, with these minerals. If you Google magnetized water, all of the top Google results are all different fake websites and blogs that he made himself. That way he could continue the narrative. So now it's like this, like now the story.
And I think that's That's something great, because if we go back in time and look at magicians from the very start, that was a thing, right? Is like you lived your act. And to me, it's what makes magic so incredible. Like I even look at guys, we've talked about him before. I'm gonna bring up Chris Angel. It was like Chris created this character on TV of Mind Freak back in the day with all the garb chain and everything else. And if you look back at Chris earlier than that, like that was definitely a character that they created for TV, and it became really popular. And now he lives that. And Chris Angel is Chris Angel. Anytime you run into Chris, like he's wearing sunglasses in a hotel at midnight, because he has to be that character. And part of me respects that, is like they are never turning that off, right? And if you went to Chris Angel and said, hey, there's no way you floated from one building to the other, he's going to say, yes, I did. He's not going to say, no, I didn't. This is how we did,
Right.
Yeah, I could float. I could levitate. Yeah, 100%. Right.
Yeah.
And so there's parts obviously that I don't respect in what happens there, but I think, like you said, with Pop, is like keeping that character going all the time. There's a beauty to that and an art to that as well, where it's like that person is so committed to that role that the whole thing is a work of art.
Yeah. So I was joking earlier that like you guys were like, what's the most impactful like or magic book or product or something? And I talked about like The Illusionist or The Prestige. There's a bit in that where early in the movie they say like, yeah, they're like, go see this guy telling you does that. And there's a great line. They're watching him as an old man walk to the carriage, and one of them turns to the other and says, "This is the act."
Yeah, 100%.
And I love, I don't know, that line just encapsulates so well. Like what's happening on stage at that point is like just a natural extension of that character.
And I think that's why I brought up Darren before, is because that's what people believe outside, like with all of his specials that he's done. With his specials, it does make it look like he's got this incredible, like with hypnosis and stuff, he's got these incredible powers, right? Mm-hmm. And so I would say to an extent, he's living his character outside of the theater, even though maybe on a more muted level. At least when I had dinner and stuff, it was very, very muted level. He's obviously not going, I'm reading you right now.
Yeah.
But I would say to the general public of what they see him, I guess it always has to be that. So maybe not so much him, but I would say that he's not trying to debunk people saying that he's real as well.
Right. But I think that's even just rooting it in some truth. Like he's willing to say like, yeah, there's some truth to all the body language reading stuff I do.
Yeah.
Not quite as he takes it on stage, but there's enough truth that he can be like, yeah, I'll do which,
I was thinking about that,
Yeah.
and I thought about his obsession with scripting. And I think the thing that leads me away from that is the fact that he scripts his ad-libs.
Yeah.
And the ad-libs are repetitive. So I think if he was trying to represent as something like, you could easily, he did that show, how many times? It's so easy to just change the ad-libs up, script new ad-libs. But he kept the same ad-libs in there. I think that's an interesting point that leads towards it's all junk until you have a conversation about it, but it's theater. It's distinctly theater.
Right.
Yeah, it actually, that ends up answering so many of the questions. Like if someone's that curious and they're like, okay, I went to a Darren Brown show and I'm convinced that he has these supernatural powers, he can do all these things, and then they go to it again and they go, everything was exactly the same. This is a show.
No, I will disagree with that 100%. I had a guy come to my show 8 weeks in a row. 8 weeks. And at the end of the 8 weeks, not the same person, it was a different person, but at the very end of the show gave the exact same answer 8 weeks in a row, because it needed to be. It had to be the closer of the show. It had to be this answer. And at the end of the 8 weeks, he came to me and goes, still have no idea how you're making that person say this thing. And I was like, wow, 8 weeks. This person, I say the same thing. The answer is the same thing every single time. You know that the piece of paper on your table is going to tell the whole story of the show. You know it. You know it. It can't change. It has to be this. They didn't care. They were like,
but again, that's a why, not a how. That's interesting because that's a why, not a how. Why? Why? I don't know. I don't know how he said that. And you're not answering why he said it. You're saying you're not answering how he said it. You're saying why he said it. He had to say it. It's the climax of the show. It has to be that way.
It's a climax. Yeah.
How? Yeah.
But he's saying how, and he's saying so. Even if you believed after Darren's show that Darren had powers.
Oh yeah, seeing it multiple times wouldn't debunk that.
It wouldn't debunk it because you'd say he has powers, and he's just doing the same show.
But I think it does speak to, you would be able to say like he views himself as playing a character on stage because he scripts his ad libs. That doesn't mean that the powers are fake.
No,
but that means at least like the character of Darren Brown on that stage.
He would say you would say, oh, I would say that the general public would leave going, oh, he says the same thing every show.
Yeah,
potentially that would be their thing, but I don't think it would debunk him having the abilities that he chose to have, right?
Yeah, agreed. But I mean, it does relate. It starts to play.
Jackson is writing notes about us. He's like, never talk to these guys again, idiots. No, but no, it's been a good tangent of this, but it's been interesting, and I think it's an interesting thing for viewers to think about is like, how do they react to these things when they come out on stage?
And this is another thing that Whit talked with me about, was the idea of the water cooler talk. He was like, construct your magic with the water cooler talk at the forefront of your mind. How are the people that leave your show describing what they just experienced to their friends? And if you start from there, of how you want your show described by the people that actually experience the show, and then work backwards to making that their experience that they're left with, then it can be so much more powerful, because like you could do a ton of the craziest, best card tricks in the world in a row, but the way they're going to describe that to their friends is they're going to go, oh, this guy did a bunch of card tricks. But like, but then in between even if your thing is just card tricks, the theatrical experience that they can be left with can be so much more because of what Ryan said right at the beginning of what is in between. Who are you in between all of these magic moments? Is there any theater, or is there any narrative that they're experiencing outside of that? And I remember I was actually like super surprised after the show that I did in LA that Zach saw, which needed a lot of work, but at the same time, even though there was a lot of close-up or card material and things, people very vividly recounted the story and moments that I told about my life and things to me after the show. And it was like, oh, wow, they paid like very close attention to that.
Something
and that
got across.
More important than the tricks themselves. Yeah.
We have a question?
I had to go back. I had to call back, but it was actually funny because Blaze called me. It was maybe 2 months ago that you were doing card tricks for a couple of people, and he threw in a piece of mentalism. And
it was a game changer.
Called me immediately after and was like, bro, because Blaze does like some of the craziest sleight of hand. I've seen guys that are big names in the magic community and watch them do stuff with Monica and stuff, and I'm like, Blaze on a different level than you guys. I'm like, and I messaged him. I was watching this lecture thing, and I was like, these guys are talking about stack work, and I'm like, they're not even tipping the top, like not even touching the base of the iceberg compared to what Blaze is doing. And now, his head, Blaze cool it down, pump it in.
Yeah,
but I said, like, Blaze, you're killing it, and that's why we get along, we chat about that stuff. But then he did one piece of mentalism and called me and was like, bro, this is a game changer. Because people remember, like he was like, I'm doing all this insane sleight of hand, and at the end they were like, but you just read my mind. And I'm like, people didn't equate, like who you were performing for didn't equate that all of your card tricks were skill, and then reading their minds was skill as well. It was this has.
It was the next level. Yeah, and the thing is, it was because I was sent a product to review by Murphy's, and so I was like, all right, sure, yeah, and it's a wallet that does things, and so then I was like, all right, yeah, I'm gonna just do this, write down any person's name on this business card or whatever, and then just the fact that was the craziest reaction of everything, and that was like the thing that they were talking about afterwards, it became so much more memorable. And then it was like, of course it's so much more memorable. Like cards are still always just going to be cards, regardless of what you do.
Mm-hmm. I have a theory. I wrote a blog post about this a long, long time ago, but I've had a theory which I say, like, people enjoy magic that touches the real. That mentalism was about something real. It's about them, their memories, something real that exists out there. Mm-hmm. Card tricks, as cool as that card trick is going to be, that card trick is about a deck of cards. Yep. And the only context that they ever see cards in are magicians. Maybe they play poker or blackjack. Maybe they remember their family playing hearts as a kid or something. But most of what they associate that with is other magic tricks. So it just as soon as you start doing any kind of magic, and it doesn't have to be mentalism. Mentalism is just by far the easiest because it kind of has to deal with what's up here for the spectators. But like once you start doing magic that touches the real, that is rooted in something real out there beyond the effect, it just instantly
another new level.
But even taking that and going back, like I think a lot of magicians that just do card tricks, this is where it fails. Again, is going back to what I said at the very start, was the in between the tricks. Because it's like, hey, let me show you another trick.
Yeah.
And it's like, well, right there, you've already told the people, hey, you guys want to see a trick? Let me show you another trick. And it's like, oh, okay, so there's nothing here. And that is their in-between banter.
Yeah.
And I'll give someone like Daniel Madison, who, created this aura of like he was a gambler.
Talk about playing a character.
Played a character, lived a character. So, I mean, to the 10th degree, at least in between a trick, he can talk about, this time here, I was playing this game. And to them, they're at least, I feel like, at least if they're watching, maybe not as magicians watching him, because we know that it's maybe not real, but to a spectator, they can maybe feel those experiences because, and I think that's where magic. I've always said, and I don't know about you guys, and so I would ask this as well. I've always created story-based shows because I found most magicians go, and for my next trick, or or hey, check out, I got this, and it like, oh, you guys like that? You're gonna love this next one, and I'm like, well, you just have a trunk that you're just pulling things out of? Like, this doesn't.
You see that all the time, even at places like the Castle. You'll see someone be like, "Oh, it is another one."
And
what do I got in here?
That would be my biggest.
I would like to amend my pet peeves in magic.
Oh yeah.
Hampers.
Hampers?
Oh, yeah.
Hamper on the side, they just throw it.
So
have you ever seen someone use a car as a hamper?
Oh, what?
Dude, I got a video to show you after this podcast. I'm not gonna be airing out anybody's dirty laundry on this. There's a guy, and he's using a car as a servant, and he's just throwing stuff in there. Oh, what do I got over here? Let's throw that in.
It's absolutely amazing.
But I wonder how much this was impacted by magic and stand-up comedy being so closely linked for so long there. That because if you think about stand-up comedy, they'll do a bit and they'll get a laugh and they'll kind of walk on stage and then they'll just go, so I was going to the coffee shop the other day, and they'll just start the next bit. And for most stand-up comedy, that's fine and it's still funny.
Yeah, but the stand-up comic had to come up with what he was gonna say, and then the magician just bought it.
Well, yeah, I think there are other issues. And again, talk about touching the real. Oh, I was walking to the coffee shop the other day. Everybody's walked to a coffee shop. They're going to go in and tell a story about a coffee shop that you're going to have some connection to. Versus, oh, you guys like that one? I've got another one. And they take out another piece of plastic that you've never seen and looks like nothing you've ever touched. And it starts unfolding and they put a block in and then it appears right and they go, oh.
Well, and I think, it's that narrative in between. Like a comedian, even if you watch like the best comedians, they're telling like a story or about a group of people and continuing that with that group. Like I'm thinking like Gabriel Iglesias.
And they'll do like side anecdotes.
And he's got the side anecdotes, but he's always talking about his buddies and his experiences with the buddies. Mm-hmm. And you feel like you know his group of friends throughout the whole show, right? Which is great. But then you watch some, like you said, some stand-ups are like, so I went to the coffee shop and then it's like, I saw this person the other day and it's like something totally different, right? Or, but I think with Matt, I think like you said, cards, it's really hard to say one story after another of how these link. Unless you're going, I watched someone do this,
and especially without it feeling contrived, and then contrived and condescending are on very similar.
We're gonna let this, maybe not the ace of spades. We're gonna let this. Oh, that's a double backer.
We're gonna let
the blank. Wow. Let's let
this is gonna represent the sun, and this is gonna represent the moon and stars. Now,
no more magic as metaphors, only magic as examples.
Speaking of different genres of entertainment, there are different genres of other things.
It's true.
What?
So we have a question.
Time for graphic.
Wait.
Lasagna! What's your favorite genre of lasagna? Meat. Lasagna. Veggie. Lasagna. Plain. Lasagna. Saucy. Lasagna. What's your favorite genre of lasagna?
We should be on.
Lasagna.
We're gonna leave our seats.
That's too much lasagna.
Boy,
if it descends from the ceiling right now, how crazy would it be?
Oh, that would be sick.
So much lasagna.
Bring it down. Yep. Okay. Oh.
And
lasagna.
So, boys.
That sounds like a legit song, by the way. I just wanted to say.
Ellie, could you start making some lasagna? We're gonna need a pan of lasagna.
Make it.
Thank you.
So, what is your favorite genre of lasagna?
Okay.
Are you being serious?
Meat lasagna, but
Lasagna.
here's the secret I learned recently: is you make the lasagna and then you cut it into squares, and then you take those squares, piping hot cast iron, and you fry them again so you get crisp on the edges.
Totally.
Oh.
This is something you should try.
Cast iron.
I mean, it doesn't have to be a cast iron. Hot pan.
Fried
Get a crisp. Get a nice crisp. You get the caramelized cheese.
Nice.
Get a little extra. Yeah.
Fried lasagna.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Very
Fried lasagna in bits. Do you then take those little cubes of lasagna?
No,
and then...
no. Big piece. You just kind of get like a quick fry on like two sides or something, just sort of kind of it sort of holds together, and then you put it on the plate. You go
refried, as opposed to Colin's reheated, which is his was microwave. Colin Cloud's favorite genre is microwave second day lasagna.
Next day lasagna. Yeah.
I mean, next day lasagna is really good.
I was about to say, there are certain foods that get better with time. Lasagna, everything has more time to soak in that sauce. The noodles really get to pull it in.
Coagulate, yeah.
Marinate. Then the noodles themselves have some flavor.
I like Tigger
And then you throw it in a cast iron pan.
So wait, what? So what?
Tigger T says Zach loves food. It seems.
You're not wrong. You're not wrong, Tigger. You're not wrong.
So Dex, what about you? What's your favorite genre of lasagna?
There's a place down. It's a local little vegan shop. I really like their vegan lasagna. Yeah.
Oh,
Very funky and strange, but good.
Yeah, really good stuff.
Vegan lasagna, and then refried.
Yeah,
Or
Pan
just
fried
fried.
lasagna.
Just fried. Just you only got to fry it once. Yeah.
It's being baked. It's now fried. So that leads us to our follow-up question, which yes, we do have every episode as well. That leads us to our follow-up question.
Would
Ryan,
you like some
take this one
lasagna?
away this time?
If you were to bake one pan-fried lasagna or vegan, and then you were to bake a second pan-fried or vegan lasagna, and you took so-called second lasagna, placed it atop of the first lasagna, do you now have one lasagna or two?
Does lasagna have a max height? You know, like that's a big question right there.
Do you have one lasagna or two? I think it's this is a tough question. I think temperature is really important here. Temperature is really important here because if they're warm, if they're still hot, then the cheese on top of the bottom lasagna is going to melt and goo in and kind of help cement it to that, attach it to that top lasagna. And then I think, oh, you want to like riffle shuffle the lasagna noodles together? You're right. If you stack them, two lasagnas. If you shuffle them, one lasagna.
If you shuffle them, then it becomes one. But they're both previously cooked.
Yes.
So if in the stacking example, one is stacked atop the other. No shuffling, no riffles. Okay. One is stacked atop the other.
Pharaoh.
They're identical either way. They're either identically pan-fried or they are identically vegan.
Well, if you consult the book of perfect Pharaoh shuffle stack movement in expert card technique, you'll see that they don't end up in the same order, actually. You'll end up with a different sequence of noodles, sauce, cheese,
However,
layers.
We're talking more about a 2-deck A-can, less a Pharaoh shuffle. We got two individual decks.
You're talking about a 2-deck A-can. I'm talking about Pharaoh.
Sir, whose show is this?
That's not the question. Let me tell you the answer. It's not your
Let me tell you the answer and the question. All right. 2 or 1 with a stack, not a shuffle.
Oh, I don't know. I mean, it seems like I have no clue. It's like a ship of Theseus or like a death of the author question. I feel like we're answering here.
If you kill the person that made the lasagna, it's one lasagna.
Yeah.
If not, that's what death of the author is. Right?
Yeah.
Right.
I don't know. I'd say the intent has a place, and so I would say it's 2 because its original form is 1.
When you baked the lasagna separately, did you know that you were going to stack them?
Yeah, that relates as well. Yeah.
Intent.
Now, the thing is, an argument for 2 would be, let's say that the second lasagna, if there's a large time delay between the 2 lasagnae, so like if there is another lasagna that has been frozen or refrigerated for a week, and you've only baked the second lasagna just now, they don't coalesce in the same way. However, if they are baked the same day, same time, just separate pans, then they have a higher chance of potentially, joining in one perfect
one.
It's I think temperature is important. Sort of like organ. It's like a body rejecting a donor organ. You can't. There's no definitive answer as to whether or not it's 1 or 2 lasagna. You have to see if the lasagna graft takes.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah. It's a case by case basis.
You gotta find out while you eat it.
I mean, if you make them with different red sauces, then the antigens won't be the same, so they're much more likely to reject. If you make them with the same sauce,
you have to eat it. The lasagna is in a superposition of both 2 lasagnas and 1 lasagna until you look at the lasagna and eat the lasagna.
There you go. Yeah, that makes sense.
Lasagna.
I love that Tigger said no wrong answers except that one.
No, Tigger's wrong.
Yeah, that's a shame for Tigger. Huh?
He's like, they were like, Tigger's like 1 or 2, no wrong answer. Kill the chef. Wrong answer.
Cannot conceive of
Kevin's
other
definitely
options.
not the
My
best.
favorite genre of lasagna is quantum lasagna. Yeah.
Spooky lasagna.
Yeah,
Yeah.
there you go.
Yeah.
Yeah, dude.
That's a
Oh,
joke
well, the
for our
song goes
quantum
significantly
friends out
longer
there.
than where I stopped it. And then it starts getting into more magic genres. Like, he just starts saying Houdini, and that becomes a new genre of lasagna.
That's a disappearing
No.
lasagna.
Oh, see, you didn't understand the spooky lasagna joke because you're not one of our quantum physics friends out there. But
See?
quarks have
That's what
superpositions, and one of them is spooky. That's a formal scientific term. You can look that up later.
Really? Spooky is a
Legitimate.
position, is a superposition of a quark?
It is superposition might not be the right word. I'm going to be honest. It's been a little while since I read it, but it is when it comes to quarks, there are and like things inside atoms. Yeah, spooky action at a distance. That's a whole thing. Einstein wrote a whole thing about that.
Schrodinger's lasagna.
Schrodinger's
There you
lasagna.
go,
See, Johnny gets it.
Johnny!
Johnny gets it. Yeah. If you put a cat in with the lasagna, that raises the likelihood that it ends up as one lasagna smeared all around the inside of the box.
Well, if you were to put two lasagnas stacked atop of each other, you know, in a box with a cat, but both are eaten simultaneously, did it become one lasagna?
Would
At
it kill the
some
cat?
point?
And did you regret bringing us on the show yet?
Yeah.
No, good sir. No, good sir. Quite the opposite.
Damn. We'll get there.
Only the
No.
comments after the show on our post will tell. No.
Okay.
Yes.
So I gotta get the troll score.
Break all the records.
Says Blair now is thinking of what to write in the comment section.
Says.
Yeah.
That's a long time for Says to watch this. Wow.
Says literally was like,
Every
what did he
episode.
say? Yeah.
All
He
shows.
said, he just said, I'm
Always
always.
watching.
I just love that thumbnail, bro. Like,
What even? Oh, yeah, it's that.
why did you? Yeah. When was that? What was
Man,
that?
I don't know. Man, I do stuff on the show and then it happens. I don't know.
It is.
It was like he found the 2 seconds on the show when I happened to do that in a 4-hour episode and then happened to chop it out. And, and now we're here.
Should we post the link to his YouTube video that he posted this past
Oh
week?
my God.
Because I died the whole time. I was almost crying laughing.
Should we react to it?
I'm so excited to watch
Yes,
this.
yes.
Can you put it on here? Can we watch it? Yeah.
Let's do that.
Oh,
It
yeah.
is-
Wow, it pops up very quickly if I type in Says Blair. 43 views.
Well, I probably watched it 10 times.
Oh.
Not gonna lie.
It's got a much better like-dislike ratio than I have. Can you hear that?
Yeah.
Yeah, but I can't see it.
Yeah, let me just.
Says yes.
Oh my God, this is amazing.
I'm so excited. Oh yeah, look at that face.
This is so good.
Oh my
Oh,
God, dude.
Oh, I'm so excited.
My God. Oh my God, dude. Okay, we're in for it.
Sorry I was gone, but look, I made you some content.
Oh my God.
To your favorite open wide. Here comes the content.
Boom, and we're live. And your magic goes from being just magic to some of the more insane things you've done.
Oh, why is that not your face on there? Why those should be your face? Come on.
That is my face.
Oh, was it? I just couldn't tell why.
Society than those peasants below me.
What's happening here?
I can sense the amount of douche the moment they meet me.
This is madness.
So mind blowing, yeah.
I really appreciate you coming down here and sharing your perspective. Episodes of the Joe Rogan Experience are now free on Spotify.
All in the Joe Rogan world.
Oh no!
Oh no!
That face will haunt my dreams. Oh, that's amazing.
It's like Donkey from Shrek. Are you getting that vibe? Are you not?
No,
I was getting that. There's a bit of Donkey from Shrek.
Yo.
Smoke weed every day.
We got a #1 victory royale. Yeah.
No, are we gonna react to the whole thing?
How long is the video?
Yeah, no, it's your
seems
show.
like it's very long.
What do you-
Yeah,
what do
whatever
you-
you prefer.
Whose show is it now, Blaze? Whose show is it
It
now?
says Blair's
It says
show,
his show now.
obviously.
Oh man, I don't know, man. I feel like he's taking over.
You're gonna wake up one day, he's gonna be in your
Right
fucking
now,
show.
just wiped out Tomato Town.
What is happening?
And now we're heading southbound. Now we're in Pleasant Park Street. Look at the map, go to the mark sheet.
Stop posting about Among Us. I'm tired of seeing it. My friends on TikTok send me memes. On Discord, it's fucking memes. I was in a server, right? And all of the channels are just Among Us stuff.
What is going on?
I showed my champing underwear to my girlfriend, and the logo, I flipped it, and I said, "Hey, babe, when the underwear says, ding, 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 ding." Ah!
What is going on?
It's fine. It's fine. It's fine. We get it.
Yeah, I
We
was
get
gonna
it.
say,
We get it by
the
now.
big, the huge smile. Just
So guys, check out this.
just the slightly inhuman
That's
sort
amazing.
of wobbling. Yeah, it's a
Oh
good
wait. We need to. I just want to bring it to. Oh, this one's my
Oh, wait.
favorite. I'm gonna bring it to this one, and then I'm gonna bring it to the one that's the two of us, really quick, just before we
Do
get
it.
off of this topic here,
Oh yeah.
where that screenshot comes from. So we'll go next. Oh wait, this is not it. This is not what I thought it was at all.
I feel like you could do this if you wanted.
You could just do that.
You guys aren't bad. You should do more singing on the show.
Yeah.
I was trying to. Oh, this is the one. Just do it.
You know what I mean? Like there's more of them. If they were like shorter, like yours, like little stubby chode muscles, they look fucking huge, dude. I gotta pack on a lot more mass around there. You know? It's
Oh my god. Okay, so yeah, let's stop it.
I think the Friday part was my favorite because it was such an annoying song. But it's like it's such a perfect face. For it. Like,
Dude,
but
this is just.
I like.
I don't know how to feel. I don't know if I should be trying to put a stop to this or if I should be encouraging it.
I
don't
don't know. Really drink on your guys' show, but like, I feel like I should be.
The funny thing is, I think
The
that
last episode was.
I think if Blaze was like discouraging it, I think I would only more be pushing it.
Pushing it even harder.
I'd be sending Blaze or Says like all. I'd be like, Says, I talked to Blaze about this week. Do this.
Dave just said, I just wanted to thank you guys for coming on my podcast.
Whoever you are, I really enjoy you.
Oh,
man.
Do you feel like it's a good time to just go straight into the finding out how smart these guys are?
I think
Yes.
so. We gotta have Says on one week so we can actually. I don't know what he looks like other than.
Well, you gotta do a deep.
I know what he looks like. I've met Sage.
It would have been better if Says didn't like if he was masked like the whole time.
Yeah, he was masked the whole time.
Ruin the illusion.
Yeah, just yeah. Wow.
Yeah, if he came on and had a filter on his face, so you couldn't. It's
Oh,
just
yeah.
your face.
Just
Oh, so
I didn't meet him in the traditional sense, but
good callback. Good callback.
but it might have been a meeting, perhaps. All right, so
yeah, you met him on the astral plane. Yeah, yeah.
Yes,
Yeah,
we were vibrating on the same frequencies. So y'all's is y'all's smart or stupid?
It's that time. It's time for my favorite rhyme. It's time for the IQ test. Let's see if you're better than the rest. It's time for the IQ test. Let's see if you're better than the rest. Did your teachers call you smart? Or more of an epidemic brain fart? It's about time we see. Can you count? 1, 2, 3. Let's see if the answers will agree. Can you count?
the Helia up here in the middle. Damn it.
I'm gonna be honest. The song's slightly growing on me.
I wanna know which one of you guys-
Epidemic brain fart
Multiple
still
ways.
makes me
Multiple
cringe
ways.
every week, but I think the fact that it's cringy makes me like it more.
I think that you cringe makes me like it way more because every time it gets that part, I'm like, epidemic brain fart.
Epidemic brain fart. All right.
What's the saying? Don't kill the part. Don't kill the part that's cringe. Kill the part that cringes.
Hey.
So
weird post online. Don't look it up.
Some wise words from a man who hasn't taken the wisdom test yet. Sir, question 1.
How do you put a giraffe into a refrigerator?
You open the door, you put the giraffe in. You probably have to take the shelves out. You open the door, you take the shelves out. Everything else out. You put the giraffe in, you close the door.
Jackson doesn't look like he agrees with
It's elementary school
I
stuff,
don't know.
man.
Like, yeah, it
I was
seems like
expecting there was gonna.
you would put another F in the word refrigerator, and then you could put the giraffe into it.
This guy, see, we're thinking in different directions.
Whoa.
So final answer?
Yeah, that's the final answer.
I mean, I'm bad at spelling.
What is the final answer between the two of you? Because
why can't
you guys
we-
are
we're our
you
own
are the
people.
Four Suits
We have our
collective, and you
own
have one
answers.
collective consciousness.
No.
Yeah, I thought you were.
Okay,
the-
fine. Well, his answer was more clever. My answer was
Individualism.
playing off of an elementary school joke that I really thought you guys were going to go into with this setup, but you're not. So I'm going to go with that one. Another F.
Interesting. Another F.
And you guys made the educated decision to lose because actually the correct answer was open the refrigerator, put the draft in, and close the door. This question tests whether you're doing simple things in a complicated way. Yidgets.
That's why we're a good team.
But you haven't answered redemption.
I mean, you were going to take the shelves out, so maybe you went a little step further than
Well,
you
it's
needed.
okay.
Guys,
I mean, you gotta have
problem is
space
that-
for the giraffe, man. What are
You
gonna
guys went
make
into
the
this
giraffe
as
like-
two separate minds. You have to engage the third mind between you.
Yeah,
Remember, that's where Four Suits
That's what you
comes
said.
in.
Third mind. You got to use that
Third
one.
mind. 3 brains.
Elliot,
One
they're asking
cup.
for you again.
Now the second question is, how do you put an elephant?
Okay, all right, okay. Let me take this one. You open the door, you take the giraffe out, you put the elephant in, close the door. I didn't have to watch another video to know the
Yeah,
answer.
that's the one, that's the
I'm
answer.
no fool. It's not going to be right, but I'm confident in that answer.
You're confident in that answer, Jax. Are you also simultaneously
Yeah, I'm on board,
confident in
yeah.
that answer,
Go for
or
it,
do you
send
have
it.
opposition?
Oh,
No,
After you were the absolute anchor of your team before, weighing
No,
your
send
doubt.
the first time he's like, "This is the answer," and
I mean-
Zach was like, "Okay, yeah, I agree."
That was a much more clever answer, in my
It
Well,
opinion.
the correct answer, yes, the correct answer is open the refrigerator, take out the draft, put in the elephant, and close the door. This tests your ability to think through the repercussions of your actions. Now, you said based on an elementary school joke, Zach. However, how far did they go in elementary school?
Only one way to find out. Question.
The Lion King is hosting an animal conference. All the animals attend except for one. Which one does not attend?
Elephant. It's still in the refrigerator.
Send it.
Have you watched The Lion King?
Have you watched The Lion King?
Not the new one. I found the pseudo-realistic CGI to be a little off-putting. Sorry, Disney.
It was a little off-putting, but there was one animal missing.
But this doesn't say the Lion King from the animated classic film Disney's The Lion King.
No, he is the king of lions, though.
It does say The Lion King capitalized.
Yeah, it does specific. I mean, maybe there's not a registered trademark sign, but
We
it
should
is
add that
the
for the
lion.
next one. I'm sticking with elephants.
Send it.
I'm sticking with
You know who dies in the Lion King movie?
one of the lions, I think.
Yeah.
The Lion.
The Lion King.
If I'm not
in
mistaken.
fact, yeah.
But if he's hosting the
So-
conference, it seems unlikely that he would be not in attendance.
Well, yes, the correct answer is the elephant. He's in the
Just
refrigerator.
want to make sure that you guys were both on the same page. That's all.
There you go.
We weren't
All right,
questioning your answer. We were just waiting to see if you came up with any others.
Okay, that's fair. That's fair.
But things do take a turn at all points. When
Well, I think we
sometimes
must.
trends and patterns are lost, we there is a river you must cross. but it is inhabited by crocodiles. How do you solve the problem?
I mean, I know the
Jack.
answer to that.
Send it. No. It's,
Jack.
While in normal life,
Jax!
while in
Max, not sad.
Well, in normal life, obviously, we being secret agents would use our zip lines that we have on our guns to zip line across the trees above it. In this instance, that's actually not necessary because the crocodiles that inhabit this river are at the conference that the Lion King is hosting. So they are, in fact, not currently present, and you can simply swim across the river. But I'd probably keep the zip gun ready just in case. Sometimes there's like a lazy crocodile that decides not to go to the conference. He didn't have a paper to present this year. He's kind of disappointed.
You don't want to try paddleboarding across on top of the fridge with the elephant inside. You know, maybe chop the elephant into pieces, throw the pieces out to distract the crocodiles.
Well, if you took I don't think refrigerators float. But what I will say, though, actually, I recently found out that in one of the old school James Bond movies, there's a shot where he jumps across the back of like 5 crocodiles to get across a river. And they filmed it for real with real crocodiles. And this crazy crocodile trainer who looked enough like him from behind, they were like, put on this blazer and just run across these crocodiles. And he got it on the 4th or 5th take. And they have outtakes of him jumping across crocodiles and then slipping and them like snapping at him and him having to scramble away. It's insane. Look it up on YouTube. Highly recommend it. Luckily, we will not be encountering that because these crocodiles are at the conference.
I still like Tigger's answer the best.
What was that?
Tigger's answer.
Well, Tigger would just spring across.
Tigger's
springy tail.
Zach might pull off an ECAT.
I didn't even have to look this up. I heard this in elementary school, man. I legitimately heard this in elementary school.
Well, that's your fault. I was going to elementary school.
Zach is the real deal.
I did say I was better at cheating. Kind of set myself.
What kind of elementary school did you go to? Yeah, Zach was also the one that said he would lie to us.
I went to a tiny elementary school.
Yeah,
you went to the elementary school where they teach you how to cheat at podcast trivia
and climb on big truck tires that they had put up as a playground for us.
Ladies and gentlemen watching, viewers out there, this is why this is the final time that we will do
IQ test. No, it is being retired.
We are
look forward
retiring
to a compilation of our guests' reactions, some of the best and worst answers to the IQ test. But after 2 weeks in a row of guests getting too many answers correct and having already seen the quiz before, we must.
See, I actually always heard this part with piranhas, though. But I guess crocodiles make more sense because they could climb on the they can survive out of water better than piranhas. I always thought the piranhas.
Was there a 5th question in that one? Yes. Oh, by the way, yes, correct. You swim across. All the crocodiles are attending the animal conference. So yes.
The funny thing, what we should have done maybe is send Jackson out of the room and let Zach answer, and then seen. Obviously we knew Zach knew all the answers, but it would have been interesting to see if Jackson was even close.
I would have caught on.
I hated the premise, so I would not. I would have respectfully denied. But this is why we are a symbiote. So this is why it works.
Now, I'm curious what would have happened. Now that we're retiring this quiz, I'm curious what would have happened if we had never told people the answers until the very end and let them go down a tangent. Because if we had just started at the tangent of letters fitting in other letters, in other words, and then we just go through all of the questions. At this point, we're so far from the right track. I feel like it would have been maybe even funnier.
That's not a bad idea, actually, because if you were to take an IQ test, you wouldn't get the answers until the end of the test.
Yeah.
True.
Maybe we might have to try that with another guest.
Mm-hmm. I mean, I think I still would have recognized the sequence of questions, but for someone not
for Zach, it wouldn't work because he's a dirty cheater. But for most moral humans, it would have been fine.
I was invited to keynote the Lion King's conference 2 years in a row, and I had to deal with the travel arrangements.
Man. Yeah, that's a thick chimichanga of a lie right there.
He didn't look it up. Legit.
I think we said it a couple weeks ago. You can never trust a guy with a beard. So he's got a beard. So
checks out.
Yeah. I'm the most trustworthy here, baby.
I was about to say. This is he's lying about lying.
Blaze will be about another 8 months until he's not trustworthy.
No, it'll be another 8 years.
Yeah.
It'll be another 8 years of Rogaine treatment, and then maybe get there.
I tried to be nice with 8 months, but yeah.
Ah, yes. But this has been fun. But at this point, we have to kick you off, guys. You got to get off the ship. You've thrown off our mojo, really. You threw off our rhythm with that cheating, with these lies and deceit. It was really rude of you, honestly, to derail the show like that.
We had a lot more planned.
No, we had a lot more planned. I told you. I said strap in for 5 hours, and we're only halfway there. But
we just have to have us on.
Take the quiz again. Bring Helia over and have her take it.
I do like. Who was it? Someone said earlier. Let me find it. It was Tigger again. Said I didn't even notice when it got dark for Jackson Zach.
Told you there was a beautiful sunset going on.
It was very nice.
It was all an illusion. It was actually dark.
Oh man.
So what does, considering you guys have a very distinct view of how you think magic should be presented, what does the future of magic look like to you? What do you imagine that will look like based on
looking right at him?
He's
talking right now.
All right. On to that. But now, okay. So, but on to the honest answers now. Did you get that answer from Zach? You lying.
I looked it up earlier. I was like, "Who is?"
I'm being honest that I am looking at a person right now.
Oh man, God, what even is the future of magic?
The future of magic, in general.
Just in general.
Yeah. Or what would you like the future of magic to look like? What do you hope for?
Oh man.
Hopes and dreams.
Honest, more practiced.
In the Matrix when they first take Neo out of the thing and they're trying to show him what the real life looks like, and it's that whole montage of that's what I got going with. I'm trying to pull my head out of it.
So to circle back to something that we talked about briefly, which was the painting, and how you make the painting is irrelevant. To me, when I look at a strong, true painting, you can feel the feeling that's embedded inside that pigment, inside the brushstrokes. That is what I want magic to be. That's what I want the future of magic to be. I want you to be able to feel every emotion that went into every single hour, every single method, every single thought into that show. I want you to be able to feel it like a painting.
Yeah, that's a good answer.
That's a great answer.
I'm not going to give a better answer than that.
But
I will give a longer one.
You know why? It's a good answer? You know why it's a good answer? Because it was genuine and honest and not pre-rehearsed like some people.
Yeah.
Oh man.
Oh.
But yeah, I mean, I think Jackson hit the nail on the head. Honest, careful, considered. A lot of magic. Yeah. I could. Yeah.
What's next on the horizon for you guys?
Well, we just wrapped up DEF CON. We presented at DEF CON this.
Oh, we didn't even talk about DEF CON.
I know.
We talk about DEF CON.
Next 2.5 hours.
Yeah, exactly.
Let's briefly touch on DEF CON because you talked about at the beginning. You talked about at the beginning how your collective was the idea of how magic can be used as a tool within theater, within security and design.
Yes.
And so security is an aspect of that. And I imagine that links in with DEF CON a lot and something that Jackson Zach have been part of for the past few years.
Yeah.
So you guys could just summarize what you guys did with DEF CON and what DEF CON is.
Shout out Brendan Martinez and Helia.
Yeah. Brendan Martinez, Helia. I mean, the whole 4 Suits team putting in mad work. This guy killing it. But so basically, DEF CON is it's been going on for almost 30 years now. When it happens in person, when there isn't COVID going on, it takes place in Vegas. It draws about last year in person was like 30,000 attendees, I think. And it's focused on. It started out as a tiny little just like hacker conference. Now it's tech security and security in the larger sense. So they have topic areas that talk about, you want to hack Wi-Fi specifically. Here's this. They have a car hacking village. They've got a whole area just for lock picking. They've got a whole area for different kinds of cryptography and things like that. But what they also have is an area for like social engineering and things like that. Because there's a whole saying, which is the easiest link in any chain to hack is the human one. It doesn't matter how good your encryption is. If I can call up your secretary and they tell me the information. So we started going for a couple of years because we love a lot of the physical aspects, the lock picking, the challenge stuff, the mindset of thinking out of the box and kind of finding ways to do impossible things or finding kind of cool uses for existing technologies. And then we also love that social element. They have a whole capture the flag event every year where people cold call people. They've done previous research, but they have to cold call major companies and gain like information, like it's like serious security information. And you can listen to it live. The ways that they come up with, the stories that they manage to tell, the technical knowledge that they couch it in, but then the human stories that they use to get people to say like, oh, I guess I don't need the authentication token this time because it's the whole thing, is incredible. And so we realized that we learned a huge amount and we loved going. But we felt like there was something to be added because if you think about it, who knows how to, like lockpicking, for example, thieves do that and escape artists. Like social engineering is a lot of the same, like con artists. And we were talking about, cold reading earlier. The area of magic and cons and things like that we are very interested in. And we kind of being as representatives of the magic community felt like this magic community had to offer to that security space. So we started running events there 2 years ago. Gangbusters, everything, things went fantastic. The first year, there's a please come back. Then there was, or I guess this is our third year. Mm-hmm. Then there was COVID, moved stuff online. It's been a little funky, but we just had that. That was just this past week. We did some digital content. We had somebody talking about novel biometric identifiers, talking about how different kind of like parts of the human body can be security keys.
But sorry to jump in there. Just the way that I personally view magic is a technology.
Right, magic is a tool.
Yeah, the methods are technologies, right. And that technology, it doesn't care where it's being used. It could be used for entertainment. It could be used to gain admin access on the phone with someone. But these principles are applicable in many places, and that's what we try to do. That's kind of what ties in the whole Four Suits mission and narrative, which is what are the different ways you can take these tools and apply them? What are the different projects things you can build with some tools, Yeah,
exactly. Yeah, I mean, and even like mentalism, that is literally the art of gaining access to private information that you should not have and then presenting it back to people, hopefully to gain more information, which is precisely what people do in hacking. They'll find one email address by doing research, and then they'll use that email address to gain access to something else, which gives them more, which is, I mean, that's a one-ahead system. Like you start to see so many parallels, and there's so much that we've learned, and hopefully there's so much that kind of the magicians and people that we brought into that space, we've had professional, and then in the same way, we both are very interested in gambling slights, casino situations, because again, it's using a lot of the same tools and technologies, be they physical or mental, and applying them in a different space in the casino setting. So we've worked with advantage players. We had a professional advantage player come in and speak at DEF CON. We had Brian Brushwood helped with this and did, shout out to Brian. Fantastic. He helped with the first year. He gave an awesome talk there people love. So, just kind of helping people recognize how close those two spaces can be. So we just finished up that was this past weekend. I don't even know what day it is. Yeah, it ended on Sunday. Next, show stuff. We got some show.
Yeah, now that things are kind of opening back up, travel restrictions are limiting, hopefully.
Yeah.
We really want to take our duo set on the road, so we're just actively kind of refining our show and going to be putting it at different venues,
polishing, shopping,
wherever it will take us.
Yeah.
Nice.
Hopefully coming to a theater near you.
Yeah.
Or an Airbnb.
Or an Airbnb. Well, we figured we should finally do a little more traditional magic show. It's been a while since we did one of those. So this is more of a nice stage. We got a whole second side piece. We've got a whole all sorts of fun stuff. So.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Great. So one thing we like to do in every episode is we do a giveaway. for a product or a download of Lost Art Magic. And so we'd like to ask a question, something that came up in the episode. So, can we think of a great question that came up throughout the episode?
What a question for whom? What kind of question?
The viewer.
Question for the audience.
Yeah.
That is, yes.
You guys don't win a prize. Sorry.
Well,
Our
This is the prize.
Was spending time with you.
Yeah.
Yes. You're looking at the
See,
prize.
Zach lies, and Jackson
Yeah, but he said it
disagreed.
too.
He disagreed. Though. He just said, yeah.
He's like, yes, that is a thing that Zach just said.
Surprise! Yeah.
It is true.
That Zach said that.
It is true that Zach said that just now. So yes. So I'm thinking about back to we always usually revert back to the 20 questions. Like save that, which was quite a while ago at this point.
It was almost 3 hours ago.
We also
2 hours ago, something like that. We would have got.
Where did this would be a super early, like 5 minutes in question for like the long viewers, but where did Zach and Max meet?
Zach, you want like a factual question that if they get right. Oh, I see.
Question that they can get right, and we can see who's the first person to answer it.
That's a good one.
Okay.
That's a good one.
So, where did Zach and Jackson meet? Comment it in the comment section.
Wait. No, the question should be which one is Zach and which one is Jack.
Yeah,
no. I guess we gave it away too much.
That's too, yeah.
Yo, Tigger got it. Tigger got it again. Wait, is that 2 weeks in a row?
Oh wow, yeah, he's 2 weeks in a row.
It is 2 weeks in a row. So maybe we need another question because Tigger. Well, I also haven't responded to Tigger about getting his prize. I'm sorry about that.
Okay, you're gonna start sending letters to your house.
Oh no! Wait.
I know where
he
you
didn't reply to me. Okay.
Oh.
Did he talk to you?
I think I did. Yeah.
But yeah, we met in a small
Okay.
town in Colombia, out in the Colombian jungle.
Let me double check. I think.
And, he spelled it wrong, but it's fine.
That's fine.
Yeah.
Phonetically.
Yeah.
Going fast.
Wow.
Tigger, thank you for watching the entire episode because that was a 5 minutes in question. We're now 2 hours and 40 minutes since then. So.
Oh, did I get?
Did
I got?
I think we should give it to Johnny. Because Johnny said, sharing that chimichanga lady in the trance.
Hey,
there we go.
dude,
Wait,
Johnny.
wait a second.
Johnny, shout
I
out.
feel like that adds a whole other layer to that.
I feel like Johnny's answer is so good that I would be willing to give it to Johnny because that shows that he's been watching this whole time.
It is
comedic value.
Yeah, and and Tigger spelled Colombia is the wrong Colombia, so that
You did. You did not.
Does that feel good with you, Ryan, or do we want to go for another? I mean, I think Johnny's answer.
Just in case.
We could do both.
Whoa.
We could do both. Yeah.
I
mean, Tigger already is getting any
it's
product.
True.
So,
two of us,
Johnny,
it's only fitting that there should be two.
Johnny, as
keep
you can
posting
see down here in the corner, all the way down in that corner, there's the @mentalism.ca and then my and @Lost Art Magic. Reach out to any of those. Tigger even said that chimichanga is the better answer. But if you reach out to any of those @ on Instagram, or you can go to 1v1magic.com and join the Magic Discord. Reach out to us in some way, and you will get any product of your choosing from lostartmagic.com. Any downloadable product.
Downloadable.
And Tigger also, I think, is getting one of those decks from Ekaterina as well. So he's already got a double prize. So he would be getting a triple prize. But I think Tigger has just kind of nodded his hat to the superior gentleman in this week.
So.
That's it.
Love it.
Johnny, go. You got it.
Go, Johnny, go.
Well, thank you guys so much for coming on. We had an absolute blast. I mean, we definitely dove into some pretty heavy post-show talk, which I appreciate. And so I think that you guys gave a lot of really great insight into those things. And I think the highlight for me was like looking for different venues that people wouldn't think of. I think that's brilliant. Because I think there's a lot of young people out there watching that would never have thought of that. That are like, you know, there's, like I said, there's no theater in my hometown, so I can't perform a stage show. It's like you don't need a stage to perform a show. Get out there and do it. So I love that you guys have done that, and that you're thinking of the narrative first rather than just the trick. So yeah, Blaze.
Thank you guys so much for having us on. It was a blast talking to you. Blaze, a pleasure. Ryan, a pleasure to meet you, and hopefully not the last time we chat.
You guys are dear friends, and I really appreciate you guys having me on, and the fact that we did the podcast the other time where you had me on, and the fact that you guys came on here.
Yeah, we had you on. It's our show.
We like to end.
We like to end every show how we started. So
thank you so much for watching, everybody. We'll see you next week with another episode of Magic After Dark. Woo!